Show up in an old t-shirt that I love. Why you gotta tell me that I'm looking good? Don't know what you were thinking, you were doing, moving in for a hug like you don't know I'm coming unglued. Why you wanna make me keep on you? Why you wanna make me keep on you? Why you wanna make me keep on you? Out of all of the places in this little town, yeah, you had to come walking in here and sit down.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
Well, they say that the country's done. They say that the stock market's gonna crash. They say that every single one of us is gonna let down while they walk across our back. But I'ma stand up. I'm gonna put my fists in the air. No, I don't wanna have to bring my guns, but I'll be ready if it goes there. But you can let down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country and you right now. But I don't wanna. So let's stand up, put our fists in the air. No, we don't wanna have to bring our guns, but we'll be ready if it goes there. 'Cause we're the epitome of what's left of the USA. We're hardworking, honest, and we make our money the good old-fashioned way. But you can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. But get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now. But I don't wanna. No, I don't wanna. Well, they say that the country's fine with a little hard work and prayer. We can get her back on her feet, 'cause I believe she belongs there. So let's stand her up and brush off the dirt and dust. A lady liberty needs our help from every single one of us. But you can lay down if you wanna. You can run away if you wanna. You can pretend that tyranny is totally okay if you wanna. You can play dead if you wanna. Get what they said if you wanna. Turn your back on the country needing you right now. But I don't wanna.
as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow Americans, my fellow patriots. It is Tuesday, January 14th, the year 2014. You are listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can listen to me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight's going to be a great show. Of course, Stone Anthony's going to be joining us, presidential candidate 2016. Waiting on a phone call. And give a person an opportunity to explain themselves uncensored. It's all about the conversation here at the Midnight Patriot. So they know who they are. But if you'd like to give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. The lines are open. You know, I want to kind of explain something here. Do a little housekeeping before we get into the show. Before the second hour and Stone joins us. You know, we started Patriot FB. The whole premise of Patriot FB is to give you, the fellow patriot, a place to talk openly, without fear of being censored, without fear of being banned, kicked out, publicly humiliated. You know, it's pretty bad when you get kicked off Facebook. I know. I know firsthand. A lot of you guys probably know firsthand. Haven't been kicked off, been banned, can't post. That's not what Patriot FB is all about. Patriot FB is there for you to communicate, for you to openly communicate. We're all about the sharing of ideas, of healthy debate. But I want to stress something to you. Part of the service that we offer at Patriot FB is that if you're a podcaster, have a radio show, your show is conservative or libertarian in nature, we're going to give you a voice. We do that free of charge. Actually, we don't do that free of charge. We pay for the bandwidth. Patriot FB pays for the bandwidth. But you own the content. And I just want to make this perfectly clear to those that are listening out there. If you go to patriotfb.com, those shows belong to those hosts. They don't belong to us, Patriot FB. They're part of our network, but we don't control them. We're not like GCN or Sirius or any of those. So if a host wants to give you the boot, don't come on Patriot FB and tell everybody you were censored. You want to fire me up? It's a quick way of doing it. That's a very quick way of doing it. So, you know, we had an incident. Nothing major. I'll let this... I'm going to keep this cue from happening here because I want to talk to you because I feel it's important that we talk about this. But I want to hear your opinion. You know, they know who they are. The ones that were on Patriot FB today saw it firsthand. Saw me reach in there into the conversation and kind of set the record straight. But I'm interested on what you have to say. So if you'd like to give us a call at 1-800-580-4870, you know who you are. You know, we're not going to give you the boot here. I want to actually have a good conversation with you. And if you listened to our shows in the past, you would know that, roughly about 2 weeks ago, we had a guest on this show that I completely disagreed with. But, you know, everybody was saying, give her the boot. Well, I don't want to say completely. I agreed with the beginning, didn't agree with the solution. But no, you know, you're a guest. Like all good guests in my home, I will treat you with respect and dignity. So like I said, the lines are open for you. Stone's going to be joining us here in the second hour. So I'd love for you to call in. The number's 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Join the conversation. Love to have you. I don't know how I can send the welcome mat out any more than that. I'd be like that guy, we'll leave the light on for you. So, but we'll see. We'll see. I even gave out my private cell phone today and said, call me. Love to talk to you. We'll see how it goes. Well, you know, this hour, I do want to cover a couple things. Very disturbing information. It's very disturbing whenever you have Washington, D.C. anywhere in the paragraph. NSA, you know, I suspected this because I know the technology. And I suspected this. I mean, the NSA has the ability, for those that don't know, they can actually read your computer screen from the electromagnetic that comes off of it, the phosphor, all that. They can actually read that. They do. I do know that. They've been doing it for a while. And I suspected that they had some other technology. So we're going to take our break. I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm going to talk about how you might be able to protect yourself. I don't know yet. I know that here at the command center, it's pretty bad when you start coming up with, you know, the studio, the command center, deep in the bowels of the earth, hidden far away from the prying eyes of the NSA, of the ever-seeing government. We could do a whole show on that. But, no, we're protected. And I'm going to tell you what we did. And it was actually part of just building the studio. But it's something that you can do too. So we'll talk about that. Got some other news that we want to discuss. America once again is sliding into third world status. So with those two conversations, I think that will probably pretty much take it into the second hour where Stone Anthony is going to be joining us to talk about his presidential campaign. Now, 2 more days. It's a big day for him on the 16th. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live right here from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. If you'd like to join in the conversation, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870.
Can you see the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets trembling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land under the brave, and the home of the brave. Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight you in the name of the brave. We are the U.S. of A. For those unaware, that flag is still there. It's your future to save. The land of the brave, the U.S. of A. Oh, traitors that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land of the brave, and the
The end of that song, I just want to go and stuff. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. Join me live right here at patriotfb.com. Click our link. We're here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. On the web at patriotfb.com. You can click the live show button. A lot of ways of getting to us. We're actually going to be adding a few more here. Got a couple Shoutcast servers that are going online and stuff. So we're going to get on the Shoutcast network so that you can also listen to us via Shoutcast. Not only just through Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, iTunes. We are getting listed as an iTunes radio station now. Now that we have our sound exchange. It's amazing. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked when you hear that we're putting up a 200-foot tower and we're going to start broadcasting FM. That's probably the next evolution of this. Don't be shocked. But no, it's all about getting the message out there. It's all about having the conversation. Tonight is about the conversation. We're going to have Stone Anthony joining us here at the top of the hour. But if you'd like to join in the conversation, you can give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Can't make it any easier than that. Give you a 1-800 number. On our dime. But we'll see. We'll see. But what a day. You know, I listened to JJ's show. Great show. Great show. Highly recommend it. You guys go back and listen to it. Looking forward to Mike's show tomorrow morning. Hopefully he's feeling better. For those that don't know, Mike is at patriotfb.com in the morning from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. JJ then comes on air from 2 until 4 Central Time. And then, of course, you have the Midnight Patriot. Right now, you also have going on at the same time this show is going on Tuesday nights, you have Cowboy Logic Radio. Get over there and listen to them as well. You know, just a great lineup of good, excellent, outstanding alternative media talk and news. But in the news, you know, let me kind of move this conversation along since no one's going to call in. Some very disturbing news. Well, kind of suspected it, knowing what I know about technology and everything. The NSA, has just been revealed today that the NSA can monitor your computers, install software on your computers without it even being turned on. They can do that one of two ways. Now, most modern computers, now companies will say this, that they put it in there for tech support, right? I don't know about you. When my computer breaks, no one typically gets on it. I have to call we'll just say Bob. I have to call Bob in India or some other tech support center off of the shores of the United States to get tech support. They don't ever get into my computer. But so I think it's bunk when they say, oh, well, we get into your computer. We'll fix it, Dell. And they've never done that. I've always had to call Bob. And so, you know, so they tell you that they put these chips. About 4 years ago, Intel came out with a sub-processor. This processor runs off of a power supply. It doesn't take a whole lot of power to run a computer to begin with. But these processors sit under the main processor. And it allows companies to gain access to your computer if your computer's plugged in. It doesn't even have to be on. So, you know, they tell you they did that for tech support reasons. I think it was probably an arrangement that they had with the government. Don't know. Don't have the memos. Wouldn't shock me, though. Wouldn't shock me one bit. But now, so, you know, the question is, well, how do you protect yourself from that? Well, if your computer's not hooked into the network, how are they going to turn it on, right? Because it's still got to, you know, there's got to be a signal that comes in from somewhere. So, you know, with IP cop, various firewalls, Linux-based firewalls, you can protect that. But what's disturbing today is this. The NSA just announced, I don't think they announced, I think they, you know, I think the information was coming out anyways. So they tried to get in front of it. Announced through radio waves. They can now get access to your computer through radio waves. There are chips on your motherboard that allow them through radio signals, kind of, you know, TV, Bluetooth, whatever, to get access to your computer. Now, you got to remember, you know, the government owns the airways. So there are frequencies or bands of frequencies that you can't get access to. So the government can come and turn your computer on or zap it using radio waves. Doesn't have to be hooked up to the internet anymore. Now, the question is how do you protect that? Well, because, obviously we're in a sound studio with, I have to add, with padded walls. I love the fact that they're padded walls. They are comfy. I was just kind of leaning up against them right before the show. Real nice and comfy. But because we are in a soundproof room, one of the issues, and also with all this electronic equipment that come in here, we're concerned about radio interference. So one of the things that I did is that we built what they call a Faraday cage. And basically it's a mesh, and you can do it many different ways. What we did is we used screening, metal screening, not the nylon. It has to be metal, but like you would do on your windows. And we lined the walls with that before we mudded over them. And what that does is it blocks the radio signals from outside, and also blocks what's inside. So basically I'm one big potato getting cooked in here, but that's okay. But that's what we did. Now, there are devices, or I would say there are secondary market things. If you're paranoid, you're concerned, that you can get. I mean, worst case, you just build a box and then line it with, you can do tinfoil or something of that nature. And that will eliminate the wireless from getting to it. Just letting you know. But yes, the NSA did announce today that they can get to your computer and they can do whatever they want to with it connect to the internet or without it connected to the internet. Now, a lot of you guys would be like, well, why am I concerned about that? Well, remember the gentleman who just filed the lawsuit against the NSA and actually won, but of course the federal government overturned his case. Remember that about 3 weeks ago? We were all like, oh, and then of course, telling you don't get too excited. Big Brother's still going to win. Remember that? Well, one of the things that tipped him off that the government, he was a whistleblower, by the way, that the government, or that there was something going on, his computer started spewing out emails. And these weren't emails like spam emails or anything. These were classified documents, things of that nature. Things that could be used eventually against him. So you guys got to remember, when you work for the government or you work for an agency, you sign an agreement basically giving up your rights as a citizen, believe it or not. Now, depending on what you do for the government, depends upon how long you can talk or not talk. There's certain things you can't talk about ever, unless they're declassified and made public knowledge. But even then, you're a fool if you do. And the thing is that the government, the way that it's written, is that, yeah, you could be protected by whistleblower laws, but they can still sue the bejesus out of you. So got to be careful. And if the government, and the NSA clearly says that they have these computers, they already have them. They already have computers out there that they've already infiltrated and infected. And from those computers, they can launch other cyber attacks. And it would look like you were doing it. So if the government truly, I mean, let's face it. This is a government that beats up old women, who who kill prisoners in their custody, who lock up individuals because of First Amendment, for their First Amendment rights. Yeah, our government does that. They will slap a restraining order on you. They'll call it a John Doe investigation. They'll go out and slander you in media. Of course, you know, a source close to the investigation. You hear those on TV all the time. Tells us. You know, the government will tell you, well, you can't, you know, the judge will say, well, you can't say anything to the media because if you do, it's contempt. And the minute you do, it's contempt and you'll go to jail. It happens every day in the United States, every day. So, you know, so this whole issue of the NSA devising a way of putting things on your computer, plugged in, unplugged in, whatever, should scare you. Should scare you. Right now we have a caller. We'll take the caller before we go off to our break. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show. Caller, what's your first name and where are you calling from? Caller, are you there?
Oh, this would be, I'm here. This is Jim. I'm calling from Nebraska.
Hey, Jim. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Well, I got your invite in my email, so
sure.
I thought I would just dial in and listen and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've hosted a number of blog talk shows, and Midnight Patriot sounds like a good place to be listening.
Well, welcome. We're if this is your first time listening, we are a little bit different than most. It's more of a conversation we have here, so we welcome, you know, people to call in and whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. You know,
that's great.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I've been doing. I hosted a Tea Party Radio Network for a couple of years, and so you know, I just got your invite earlier, so sure. I thought I would call in, and I'm going to hang back here and listen and jump in when I might, and because we've got a lot. There's so much going on.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You know, it's crazy. We don't. You know, when we first started the show, it was a 1 hour show, and then it went into a 2 hour show, and then now we're morphing into a 3 hour show. And, you know, we do have on Mondays, we talk to kind of give you the lowdown. And also I know we have a lot of new listeners. So on Mondays, we actually have what they call Munition Mondays, where we bring in experts on firearms, and we talk about, you know, firearms and firearm technology. Then on Tuesday, we have the first hour, which I just talk to you guys. And then presidential candidate Stone Anthony joins us for the second and usually the third hour. And then Wednesday's kind of an open night, you know. And then Thursday we have Prepper Recon who joins us in the first hour. We talk about all things prepping. And then Friday's an open night. So that's kind of our schedule. And like I said, we try to tell everybody that it's a communication. I mean, we're here just to talk about issues and things that you guys want to talk about. And, you know, I just kind of guide the conversation a little bit so it doesn't get too far out of hand. But we'd love to have you. Thanks for calling in.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I was just going to actually sit back and kind of listen because, like I said, you know, there's so much that needs to be talked about, and information needs to be gotten out there.
Yep.
There's just such a wealth of information. That is readily available that so many people just don't seem to be aware of, because I get so many emails every day.
Yep.
It's just, you know, it's incredible.
Yes.
And we have to reinvigorate the conscience of this country.
Well, it's a battle. I mean, mainstream media, think about it. You know, most Americans, they go to work, they come home, they sit in front of the mind tube, you know, and they get fed, you know, mainstream media, and it's a constant fight. I mean, I hear it. I have friends who are, you know, obviously highly educated, who when we start talking to them about things, and they're like, oh, what, you know, and you start waking them up, and it's amazing. They're like, you know, the drones that they are. They get awake, and then they go home, or you see them the next day at work, and then they're talking about, you know, did you see American Idol last night, or did you see this? It's like, no, I was too busy watching C-SPAN and watching how our government is eroding our fundamental rights. I'm sorry, I didn't watch American Idol. and stuff. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And it strikes me, since you just mentioned that real quick, and I don't mean to be taking your time here, but it strikes me fundamentally that so many people I talk to are so completely ignorant of what's actually going on.
Yes.
And when you pay attention to WorldNet Daily or townhall.com, there's so many places out there that are actually giving you the real story.
Yeah.
Whether it's Benghazi, there's so many scandals. And I was talking to some people earlier tonight, which just it blows my mind. Bill Clinton was impeached because of monoclonals. You know, and this man, this administration, does more damage than Bill Clinton ever thought about doing, and they do it on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's maddening.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I've always said this. You know, the part that concerns me is I can deal with ignorance. Because you can take care of ignorance through education. The thing that I have a hard time is willful, just willful denial. That's the thing that kills me. I mean, like I said, I have very intelligent friends, and they come to me and they say, "Well, it's what do you want me to do? I can't do anything about it." That's what gets me fired up. You know, someone who's ignorant, I can deal with ignorance because I can just say, "Here, I'm not. You know, here, read this." Or go out here and read this document. And I don't have to create documents. They're out there. You know, the government creates enough for us. And, and ignorance, like I said, what just kills me is the just willful, they just denial. They come back and they're like, yeah, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to continue on and enjoy life. I'm only here for another 20, 30 years. I've actually had this conversation with some people. Well, we're only here, another 10 or 15 more years. So I don't want to rock the boat too much. I just want to kind of get through life. And that just,
that's what galls you.
Oh, yeah.
That galls you.
Oh, that lights me up. I mean, that gets me lit up because I'm sitting there going, what about your children? What about your grandchildren? Are you that narcissistic that you don't care what kind of world you're leaving your grandchildren, your children? I mean, I've like I said, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and it fires me up. It's just unbelievable. Well, welcome. I don't want to say welcome. Did you happen to log into patriotfb.com yet?
I think I did. Let's see. I'm on the midnightpatriot.com right now.
That should have
moved you over. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Get logged into there because we have an ongoing chat for the show, so you'll actually not only be able to listen to the show, but you'll also be able to chat. And as we're talking, we have some really great patriots that are out there. Usually when I'm talking about a topic or doing a show or whatever, they're usually posting the examples, the documents and stuff, and kind of referencing the documents I'm talking about in the chat room. And then the other thing, too, is that Patriot FB, we have other shows. Not only the Midnight Patriot, this is the flagship show, but we have AVN, American Voices Now, from 8 a.m. until 10, and then we have J.J. McCarty's show from 2 until 4. These are all Central Time. And then we have Cowboy Logic, which actually is running at the same time. This show's running on Tuesday nights. They only do one show a week. As well, and those are all great shows. And then we're actually adding, I think 3. We have Prepper Recon on the Move is going to be, which these are weekend shows. So, you'll be able to get pretty much, 24/7. And when we're not doing shows, we're playing classic country or classic rock.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So it's
I've seen some of your notifications.
Sure.
For a couple of the other shows that you mentioned.
Sure.
And the one essential thing, because I'm not going to hog anything here, but there is such an awakening here in this country.
Yeah.
With Blog Talk Radio, with just talk radio in general.
Yep.
And what you guys are doing, what we've been doing, it's essential. This is a conversation that we need to be having.
Yep. 24/7. We have to counter mainstream media. Because like I said, I spend so much time waking people up. And like I said, then they sit in front of the TV and they talk about who won the playoffs, or they talk about who did this or who did that, you know. And last night we actually charged people. We said, look, you know, instead of knowing who your favorite athlete is, go out there and find out who a soldier was that passed away in your community and remember that name. You know, we can all spew out Peyton Manning and, you know, all, you know, Bledsoe, all the, you know, star athletes out there, but give me one name of one soldier that paid the ultimate price for your freedom. And most Americans can't do that. So last night that was our battle cry to say is go out, learn a name of a soldier in your community who has passed away defending this country, wearing this nation's uniform. And, you know, that's what we're all about. I'm glad you're here. You know, if there's anything we can do to make the show better, if there's any topics, like I said, get out there at Patriot FB, get into the chat room, and if there's anything you want to talk about, you can also just chat in there, and we usually pick it up and run with it. So
that's excellent, and thanks for taking my call. I'm going to be listening here, and I'm going to go to that website. But you know, you mentioned the military real quick.
Sure.
My daughter has been in the military for over 20 years, and she's about to retire. And so is her husband. And some of my other former family members have been also. And these people are patriots.
Oh, yeah.
These people believe so much. And when you see the evisceration that's being done with our top military commanders right now, it's stunning. This is tyranny in action.
391 officers have been discharged or discharge of duty. We have over 11 flag officers or you know, star generals who have been discharged of duty under this administration. I mean, it's and we talk. You're at the right place because we talk about this every night. We talk about what's going on with our military. We do a segment. If you can listen to the whole show, it's a 3-hour show. If you can't, then just listen to a replay, and you'll see what we do every night. We have a honor the vets segment that we always do every night, and it's just yes, we appreciate and tell your daughter and your son-in-law, that we appreciate the services that they do to this country, and we're fighting for them. We're fighting for them. They fought for us 20 years. That's amazing. And, we're fighting for them too. I mean, because we understand. We see what this government, this administration is doing to our armed services and the men and women who have answered the call. And, it's gut-wrenching. It's just gut-wrenching. So my fellow co-host and his wife, they're still active members of the military, and I'm right in tune with all of this, and I think more and more people are getting in tune with this, and I think our military is seeing that there is such a disconnect now between the administration in place. Sure.
And their basic core values.
Yeah. Oh, it's I have friends. Well, I have a lot of military. I have friends who are officers in the Marine Corps. They have all taken their early retirement and said that because they feel that the Marine Corps is no longer honoring the contract that they had. And
is that not frightening?
Is
scary. That not frightening that these people are leaving?
Yeah.
And because they know that there's no way that they can fight this behemoth.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. It's encouraging though to know that they're still on our side. So they might be leaving the military, and we need more military patriots because if God forbid it ever turns into a shit, we need those veterans. We need those men and women that these young men and women that are being indoctrinated and being brainwashed and being told that we're enemies of the state because we believe that Jesus Christ is our Savior, or that we're enemies of the state for whatever reason, because we're patriots.
Amen.
We need these older officers, we the old sergeants, we need the old chiefs out there, to step up and knock these young men and women back into shape when, if it ever turns into an issue. But I appreciate it. Now, you have a show. Do you want to go ahead and tell everybody about your show? Go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, the show, we were supposed to air here in about 15 minutes, but my two co-hosts are not going to be able to continue. They're both in the military, and due to other obligations, we've been having a kind of a tough time.
Sure.
We are God and Country Radio Network. I'm going to be working to continue it on my own.
Sure.
But it's God and Country Radio Network. We're on Facebook. But
Okay.
Tonight, sometimes you just have a gut feeling.
Yeah.
So I got home and I got to looking on the internet and I've seen Midnight Patriot before. You've sent me notifications before. Jeff has invited you, blah, blah. So I said, well, I'm going to take this invite and just, kind of throw something different into the mix. I'm going to change things a little bit. And so I've tried getting a hold of them earlier tonight, and somehow or another they're not available. So I have not even scheduled a show for tonight.
Sure.
I'm much more pleased just to be here and listening to you guys and carrying on because I love talk radio because there's so much information that we can get out, and it's really such a growing phenomenon.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, Patriot FB, we got our numbers. I mean, that site we started up about a month and a half ago, 2 months, and we're already at 1.4 million hits. Just to kind of give you the number. So we are affecting change. I mean, we get a ton
that's excellent.
Yeah, we get a ton of hits, a ton of page views. Now, I will tell you this, nothing happens out of out of chance. I mean, I think everything is driven for a reason. I will tell you this. One of the things that we're doing, and if I extend this to anybody that's out there listening, if you have a podcast or a show and you would like to get it on Patriot FB, our network, because the whole reason why we started this network, and you would like to stream high quality because we're at 128K as you're listening to the show now, so you probably notice there's a whole complete difference in quality versus Blog Talk or some of the other streamers.
Right.
We would love to have you, and we would promote your show. We don't ask anything in return. We would even help you with your equipment and everything, because it's all about our goal here is we're going to fill up the first channel, which is what you're listening on now. We want that to be 24/7 talk. And then we're going to start, we're going to move the music over to channel number 2, and then we're going to fill that up. And then we're going to move the music over to, see how that works? We're just going to keep growing this. And what we would want to do is basically you can come out to patriotfb.com and dial into any podcast or show and listen to them live through our network. That
is incredible. I had no idea you had that reach.
Oh, yeah, and we're not charging. The thing is, we don't charge you a dime. If you are a podcaster or radio show host and you want to reach masses, we have our own Shoutcast servers that you connect to, and then from there you can broadcast out. And we don't charge you a dime for that bandwidth. We take care of it all. And
I am stunned. This goes right back. This goes right back to the very basics that God is there.
Yeah.
There is a reason. There is a purpose, and sometimes just the most incredible things can happen just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's why I called in tonight just because I thought, okay, well, I'm going to check this out, and all of a sudden it's just like, wow, there's a whole other universe out there.
We'll open the gates for you. And, we are, I'm not. I mean, I got into this because I had a desire. And, we talk about God directing us. When I started this and everything, I was like, well, what am I going to call myself? and immediately I said the Midnight Patriot.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why would I I had these conversations, thank God I'm in a padded room right now. Because I had these conversations. I'm like, why would I call myself the Midnight Patriot? And it's because it's all about getting the message out. It's all about going through towns, going through the community, going through this nation from town to town, city to city, state to state, and waking people up and saying they are coming. It is coming. It is, and that's why we did the Midnight Patriot. But, shoot me an email. My email is Jeff, Jeff, at themidnightpatriot.com. That's Jeff at themidnightpatriot.com. When you join Patriot FB, you'll see me out there and everything. Shoot me about your information, and, would love to have you. Love to have, we'll get you stood up. We'll get you a show and get you on the Patriot, and, we'll love to have you a part of the family.
I'm a pretty dedicated person when I find a place that I like that promotes the same ideals, which I'm pretty darn sure we're on the same page.
We're on the same page.
I'll be dedicated.
Thank you. Love to have you, and welcome. Well,
and I just want to say, God bless you, and God bless our men and women in uniform.
Absolutely. Hang out for a while. This is, you're not going to be shocked. You'll see here. We usually do it at the end of the show. I might do it a little bit ahead of time because Stone is going to be coming on here in a minute, and once he gets in, we usually get into a pretty good conversation. We joke about it. An hour turns into 2 pretty quick with him. So
I understand. Been there, done that.
Yep. So we'll probably actually speed that up so that way we don't have to interrupt our conversations that we have. So, but welcome aboard, and if there's anything we can do for you, just let us know. And
all right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll be here in the hinterlands.
All right. Take care of yourself, my friend. That's what it's all about here at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show podcast. I mean, it's all about the conversation. I tell people that when we started this show, when we started to do this show, it was all about the conversation. It was modeled after what I saw going on in our community, where I grew up. We were all over the military, but where I grew up in high school. My father would every morning. He does this every morning. He still does this to this day. He gets up, boots hit the ground at 5:30. He's ex-military. Boots hit the ground at 5:30. He's, out the door. He goes to Hardee's. He sits down with the sheriff, the mayor, all the old farts of the community. And they talk about stuff. And that's what this show is modeled after. It's all about the conversation. We'd love to have you, and glad to welcome another Patriot to the group. And it sounds like we might have another great show. Look forward to that and everything. So, we got Stone Anthony who's going to be coming up here at the second of the hour. I've already blown through the ads for this hour. So let me just kind of let everybody know. Tonight's show is actually brought to you by Mountain View Off-Grid Living. That's Mountain View Off-Grid Living. For all of your prepping needs, go out to mountainviewoffgridliving.com. Give Sue and them give them a shout. I know that they've been, dealing with some things, and that's why we haven't seen them at Patriot FB, but usually Sue is on Patriot FB. When you see her out there, shout at her, let her know that you heard about it here at patriotfb.com. We should be getting the new ads for them, should be coming in here in the next day. They should be here. So you'll be hearing that on our music feeds that we do throughout the day. Also, all the music here that you hear on the show is provided by Madison Rising. That's madisonrising.com. Great patriotic music, outstanding patriotic music. One of the songs that they play is called Soldier, Star Spangled Banner. Get out there and listen to them as well. We are going to have an indie station or an hour where we're going to play non-mainstream music, patriotic music from various artists like Madison Rising and all that. That's coming. So we're working that out as well. But I just want to tell everybody, it's all about the community. It's all about the community. And, normally we do this at the end of the hour or at the end of the show. But let's go ahead and do it because I'm always cutting Stone off. Cutting Stone off at the, telling him, hey, we got to go. So, let's go ahead and take care of a little bit of business here at the front end, and then we'll take our break, and then we'll roll into to our conversations with Stone Anthony, presidential candidate 2016. He's got a big announcement coming up. But for those that listen to the show, you guys know what's coming. For those that are new to the show, I do see a lot of new listeners tonight. We regardless of what you believe about this administration, regardless of what you believe about this government, one thing you cannot deny, and that's the men and women that put on this nation's uniform. Now, there's a fight that we're taking up, and if there's only one fight that you have in you, we ask that you take this fight up. Right now, in America, we have 22 soldiers who commit suicide every day. That's 22. And I'll say this again, that's 22 too many. 22 in a day, 22 in a week, 22 in a month, 22 in a year, 22 ever. That is 22 too many soldiers. We need to say no more. We need to stand up and say no more. It is a travesty. It is an embarrassment to every American citizen when a soldier has to wait, on average, 354 days to get the benefits and the services that they have earned and they have been promised. You need to be calling if you take up any fight, take up this fight. You need to be calling your representatives and telling them no more. This administration is even cutting benefits to these men and women. That is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that a man or a woman who puts on this country's uniform, who lives up to their obligations and defends us and our freedoms, and answers the call to duty, to only come back and be denied services. But yet an individual who has no contribution to this society or this great nation can walk into a welfare office and within 30 days get free health care, free housing, and free food. That is a travesty. It needs to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is we got to take the fight to them. We got to let them know, no more. No more. And I ask of you, please, please contact your representatives, contact your local VAs, let them know. Unacceptable. I get charged up about a lot of things, but that's one thing I definitely get charged up about. The other thing is like I said, 22 is too many. In this country, 22 men and women commit suicide every day. 22 soldiers every day. That's 22 too many. It has to stop. With that, we'll go ahead and do our Honor of the Fallen. When we get back after the Honor of the Fallen, we'll go into our break. When we get back from our break, obviously, we'll have Stone Anthony join us for the top of the hour. But 22, remember that. Now, I also ask, we can name sports athletes, movie stars, singers, but can you name a soldier who has paid the ultimate price in your community? I'm not asking you to name one in my town, but can you name one in your town? Do you know their name? Go out and get a name of a soldier who has passed away in your community. Get a couple names. Write it on a piece of paper. When you wake up, when you go to bed, you're sitting at your desk, pull that piece of paper out and memorize that name. Memorize that name. I ask that of you. And if you need to help find a soldier's name, reach out to me, Jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. I will find you a name. I will. It's not that hard. I'm going to read off about 15 here in about 2 minutes. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. We're going to do our segment. We're going to kind of move some things around to make some more room for Stone. But this is our segment for Honor the Fallen. Army Staff Sergeant First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. Marine Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014. Air Force Captain David L. Loyne, December 27th, 2013. Marine Sergeant Daniel M. Lassie, December 23rd, 2013. Army Chief Warrant Officer, 2nd Class, Randy L. Billings, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant Peter Bowler, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant First Class Omar W. Forte, December 17th, 2013. Army Specialist Terry K.D. Gordon, December 17th, 2013. Army Chief Warrant Officer, 2nd, Joshua B. Silverman, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant Jesse L. Williams, December 17th, 2013. Marine Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez, December 11th, 2013. And Navy Petty Officer First Class James L. Smith, December 11th, 2013. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. That's www.themidnightpatriot.com. We got another caller. I'll try to squeeze you in before we go into the second hour. Caller, hey, this is Jeff. How can I help you? What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Caller, are you there? Hello? All righty. Well, happens. It happens. So, we don't screen calls here. So when you hear me talking to you, you got to speak up, got to start talking. But we're going to take a short break here in a few minutes. Just in a few minutes. Stone's going to be joining us here at the top of the hour when we get back from break. Obviously, he's got some great news that we're going to talk about. I'm sure we are going to be discussing the fall of the American marketplace from the top 10 list. We'll talk about this. I'm going to give it another shot here. Hey, caller, are you there?
Jeff, it's Stone.
Hey, Stone. Hey, we'll take a break and then we'll come back to you, buddy.
Okay.
All right, man. All right. That's what happens when you have when you don't have a screener. But I got to take a break. I got some water. Been going out for an hour. Get a little, I did a little something I probably shouldn't have. I've been doing great. Just want to let you guys know. Been doing my vitamins, my shakes. Feeling great. Feeling wonderful. That's probably one of the reasons why I'm so jazzed up these days. But I broke down today. I actually ordered a pizza. And man, it was delicious. But I gotta take a break. I can feel it. Pulling me down. But when we get back from the break and stuff, we got Stone's going to be joining us. Going to be talking about his great announcement coming up in the next few days. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com.
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
Ourselves and our own self-destruction. God only knows we need help. Looking for a hero, someone who cares about the future, not about themselves, but about the idea of America. We need a hero, someone who shows the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America. This freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. That will actually redirect you. There you go. Old habits are hard to overcome. But you can join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That's www.patriotfb.com. And Stone will be joining us here in a few minutes. He was on and then had to take a break. I had to apologize. Kind of ran over a little bit. But that, hey, we got to be fluid, got to be flexible. It's all about being flexible and everything. But, if this is the first time you're listening to the Patriot FB, welcome. If you want to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. But right now, joining the conversation is Mr. Stone Anthony. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to dump you. But, I figured I'm always dropping you off at the end of the show. So I figure I'll take care of the honor of the Patriots, or, the fallen at the beginning. And then that way it gives us the full 2 hours that we can talk. So, So hopefully it worked out a little bit better. So how are you?
I can't complain, my friend.
You got a big day.
No, we had it last Saturday. It was very nice.
Yeah.
It rained like hell. It was cold, but if you watch the video, you can get a feel for what it's all about, man.
I need to go. Where's that at? Because I need to get Joe to go out there and grab that and then post it. Joe's becoming I don't. Joe, I just want to let you know you've been promoted. You are now the webmaster. so Stone, where's that video located so Joe can grab it and put it up at patriotfb.com if you already haven't done it. I didn't see it up there. So.
Let's see. I'm gonna share it right now to you in a message, and then you can copy it and give it to him. Or
absolutely, just put it up there at Patriot FB. Post it in the show. You're not logged in, are you? You dirty dog. You dirty dog. You're a Facebooker, aren't you?
No, I'm a Patriot FB'er, all full time, 100%.
Yeah, okay. You're already starting to sound like most of those politicians we're trying to replace up there, Mr. Stone Anthony.
You gotta tell you what you wanted to hear.
He's told me what I wanted to hear. I know better. I see everything. I'm the NSA. Did you not know that? The NSA is not actually that's all smoke and mirrors. You go in those 40-acre buildings that they have. There's nothing in there. The NSA is actually right here in my basement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm the NSA. No. I see everything at Patriot. It was funny though because I think I scared a couple people today. There was some conversation going on at Patriot FB that that I kind of had to jump in and put a stop to pretty quick. Kind of like the hand of God. Yeah, hand of God had to reach in there and kind of let people know inappropriate. We don't censor. And, of course, it's amazing when you do, we're dealing with adults and you just say, hey, look, that's inappropriate. You need to move it over here, do this or do that. And then, of course, censor. I thought you didn't censor. It's like, I didn't ban you. I didn't throw you out. I didn't keep you from posting. I just asked that you move your conversation to a more appropriate chat room.
Right. I'm trying to post this thing and it does not doing shit.
Doesn't like it. Just
maybe it's a link. Oh, okay, I have to do a link.
Yeah, you got to put the link in.
Oh, there we go. Okay, share. All right, it's there now. All right, rock and roll.
Beautiful.
On Patriot FB. Yeah, I noticed that the MidnightPatriot.com points over to this now. That's cool.
Well, that was your suggestion. I do listen to you.
Do you?
I do. I do listen. I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm trying to decide if I want a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage built on the side of the White House. Depends on how many of my biker friends are going to come over for barbecues.
Well, do you have a bass boat?
I do.
Well, then you got to go 3.
There you go.
Well, you got to have one for your boat. Come on.
Have you seen the presidential? Yacht? We're going to need a big garage.
I was going to say, you're going to get me in trouble. You're going to get the Secret Service showing up. He doesn't have a yacht. He doesn't know how to swim. Oh, that was wrong in so many ways. That was wrong in so many ways. No.
Well, you can swim in the shallow end.
That's right. In the kiddie pool.
So what can we talk about tonight? What's the hottest thing going on?
Oh, you know, the slide, you know, it's pretty bad. You know, our country's supposedly based on capitalism, but just to let everybody know how it's sliding, you know, we rank number 12th now as far as the and it's been sliding now for about 7 years, but it's freedom of economy. We're now number 12th. You know, it's just. I mean,
who's number one?
I don't know. Let me pull it up. Hong Kong. And then you got Singapore. I mean, no, seriously. This is what's you got. Hong Kong's number 1, Singapore's number 2, Australia's number 3, Switzerland is 4, 5 is New Zealand, 6 is Canada, 7 is Chile. 8 is Mauritius, 9 is Ireland, 10 is Denmark, 11 is Estonia, and then of course, you know, coming in 12th is the United States.
And this is as far as economy or size of economy?
No, this is economy. This is what this is freedom in the marketplace. In other words, these are economies in which there is least government regulation and thus allows you to be more of an open market system.
Okay, so if you were somebody that wanted to create a new company, the United States would be 12th on your list of places to start this new company.
Based upon economic freedoms. That has nothing to do. I mean, if you go by tax rates, we're almost at least. We're probably one of the most heaviest tax. France, you know, French is definitely more so than we are. But
So on my issue thing there, when I talk about creating and bringing back manufacturing and jobs to the United States, essentially when I say I'm not allowing our government to stop, you know, creating these new cliffs, you know, that you have to jump off of or jump up or climb up. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Essentially, we need to make it, you know, the Environmental Protection Agency being one of those, you know, agencies that probably is not very friendly, you know, towards, you know, new companies. Now, we all want to be environmentally conscious. I understand that. But, you know, unfortunately, we use coal in this country. We use coal in this world.
Yeah.
So, you know, until there's an alternative, you know, we need to embrace that as, you know, part of our daily lives.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, actually, you talk about coal. Governor Pat Quinn of Illinois just passed a new law that all of the coal storage has to be indoors. Yeah.
Why?
All the coal slag, all that stuff has to be stored indoors, because you know coal is a pollutant, and it's, you know, I don't know.
So there you go. There's another hurdle. There's another cliff that companies are going to have to jump. And you know what? Rather than build those indoor storage facilities, they'll just opt to not do it at all.
Shut it down.
Lay American workers off, and you know.
And then your energy prices go up, and your
energy prices go up. You know what they're pushing for, and this. People talk to me about, you know, state governments and things like that, and that's why, you know, I'm cautioning people to, you know, to call for this, you know, constitutional Congress type thing, or convention of the states, because I believe that the state governments are just, you know, as screwed up as our federal government, you know? And so what they want to do is they want to build some more nuclear power plants. So I think there's probably some belly undertone of, push to, well, if we can't do coal and this type of thing, then I guess we're just going to have to build another nuclear power plant.
Which, you know, can you say Fukushima? And by the way, you talk about that. I mean, right here, we're finding out that there is a nuclear power plant in Georgia. I want to say Georgia. South Carolina. South Carolina nuclear power plant is leaking radioactive plume into the groundwater.
Well, I mean, there's studies that are done, and obviously they keep them hush-hush, but apparently several. How many are there? Like 180 plants in this country or something like that? I think some number like, you know, half have some sort of an issue with that. Yeah, that's not cool. That's not cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, about 3-4 weeks ago in Alabama, the nuclear power plant down there had had a generator that blew up, and you didn't hear about, you don't hear about these things. I mean,
I have some pictures on my website from 2000 and I think it's early 2011 when those tornadoes came through Alabama and tore up the main trunk lines coming out of the nuclear power plant, and they were out of power for a couple of weeks there. But so I wonder if any of that was,
I don't know. Well, we have a power plant here, Zion. They decommissioned it. It was actually built by the same company that built 3 Mile Island. And apparently they found that, it sits there. It's still got radioactive. They're decommissioning it now, right on the Great Lakes. And it's, apparently there were some issues, with it that they're shutting it down and cleaning it up. And it's just, look, I'm all for alternative energies and stuff, but, I'm not for energy that gives you two-headed whales.
I watched a video a couple of weeks ago, and it's something I would recommend everybody,
What's up?
Go out and take a look at, and I'll get the name of it, and post it up. But it basically was a documentary on the oil industry, and talking to some of the bigger names, Exxon, BP, Shell, these type of CEOs of those companies. And they could be just blowing smoke because it's a documentary film, but they were talking about the early days of oil exploration and what they called the wildcat.
The wildcat, yeah.
Yeah. And basically what they are waiting for, and they're all for alternative energy, because they're going to be the wildcatters of that.
Yeah.
They've got the money, they've got the resources and this type of thing. They're just waiting for it to make sense, for them to do so.
Yeah.
Now, but the only thing they didn't answer the question was, well, at what point does it make sense to start doing that? I think what it's going to come down to is the public, the American people, or the citizens of the world are going to have to say, okay, we're willing to give up yesterday's technologies to embrace tomorrow's technology.
Yeah.
But they're ready to jump on it whenever. But do you want your combustible engine or do you want electric engine?
Well, you need. Let's face it. Let's talk about our energy sources and stuff. Our number one energy source back in the 1800s obviously was whale oil. And then from whale oil, a lot of people don't know this. The history of the gasoline engine it was alcohol. And so, when they first built diesel engines and when they first built gas engines, they actually ran on alcohol. And a lot of people don't know this, but the number one supporter of the Prohibition movement was Getty. He gave equivalent something like $100 million to the Prohibition back in the 20s, in the early 10s and 20s for Prohibition, because he wanted to outlaw alcohol because he had this thing called gasoline and oil. And so he was the one that did that, because, you could go right now. There's a great book called Alcohol is a Gas. And it's basically a scientist out of UC Berkeley put this together, and he explains to you how you can make your own still legally, do all the paperwork with the federal government, and make your own alcohol, ethanol gas. And you can do it on a relatively, if you had, I think, 3 acres, you can produce enough ethanol for your family. So if you were a farmer, if you had access to land, you could produce more than enough ethanol for you to, and that's a renewable resource. And it's insane. And you're right.
We definitely have embraced this, and we definitely have embraced fossil fuels in this world.
Well,
in
it
this
is
country.
cheap.
It is.
It's going to be. Yeah. And well, a lot of people don't understand why is Saudi Arabian oil better than, because we have huge and vast oil reserves right here in our Gulf and up in Alaska, but why is it better or more preferred? And the reason being is that it costs roughly $15 a barrel to produce it because of the refinery quality. It's a better oil. It's more refined, and thus it takes less energy, less money to turn it into, the different products than it does. I think it's like $15 a barrel, where, North American Brent crude is about $32 a barrel to manufacture it into usable fuel. And that's why Saudi is such, a lot of people are saying, well, why don't we use our own oil? Well, you don't understand. And actually a lot of our domestic oil we ship out overseas because the manufacturers get more money for it than they do if they, it costs more to refine it. So if you have a refinery that can only do 100 million gallons a day or whatever it is, are you going to refine 100 million gallons at $15 a barrel? Or are you going to refine 100 million gallons or whatever at $30 a barrel? I mean, obviously, you're going to ship your $30 a barrel oil somewhere else and let someone else deal with it, and then you're going to use your capacity. So there's a lot more to it. I've done a lot of research on it, but they are. I mean, I know I know a lot of people because we, talk to a lot, and I know a lot of speculative guys, and if they can make it, look, if you can make money at it, there will be guys that will do it. But the alternative, there's no money. You can't make money.
The point of this whole thing is that once Americans, people in the world embrace the idea of an alternative, fuel source, that's when they'll do it. But I think they're poised and ready to do it.
But
what, Jeff?
What are you gonna do? Because you can't. It's not economically possible.
What do you mean it's not economic? Of course it's economically possible.
No, feasible, I should say. It's possible, but feasible.
Well,
nuclear energy, you can't get an insurance. The only way that you can build a nuclear power plant is if the government insures
not the only alternative.
Yeah.
That's not the only alternative. There's solar.
Solar. The problem is that the problem was.
Well, then why don't we do this? Why don't we not look at any alternatives and just continue to burn oil, Jeff?
No,
you keep saying no to everything, and I keep saying
I'm not saying,
and you keep saying no. We got to go back to oil.
I'm not saying no, but under the current environment, it is you can't make.
When I say to you, once we embrace the idea, then we can move forward.
Okay.
See that? So. You're arguing with me and saying the same thing. Yes, once we embrace it, then we can move forward with an alternative fuel source.
I got you.
Until such time, we're going to continue burning oil.
Yes. Okay.
So
I'll give
my
you.
point with the oil companies was, from their lips to my ears was, we are ready to move forward as soon as people are ready to embrace it. That's all.
Okay. All right.
As far as the research and development that needs to be done, they're more than willing to do that. So anyway,
well,
BP's not finished with the Gulf yet. Apparently, it's still leaking, and they're keeping that hush hush. I don't know what the end game there is going to be.
Yeah. Well, all of those. I didn't know this, but all of those rigs out there, they leach. They leach oil. I mean, it says I don't know.
Well, that one they kept, the big one. Apparently, it's
still leaking.
Yeah, but they keep it under the surface, so you can't really see it from the air. And they use this particular stuff.
The dispersants.
Accelerite or something like that. Yeah, that's very carcinogen.
Yeah, that will kill you.
Well, yeah, I mean the people, the video crews that all went down there to do this particular documentary I watched, are all getting really very sick. And,
well, did you see the one where they arrested the lady? She went down there, the cleanup crew, she was down there with her camera or whatever, and they ended up arresting her because they said that she was literally, I would say at least 20 to 30 yards away. And they actually, a cop came out and arrested her because she was impeding a scene of an emergency. Whether they didn't want them videoed because apparently you're right, those dispersants, the way that they work, obviously they disperse oil. Well, if you get them on your skin, most of your skin is, comprised of oil and stuff, and it literally eats your skin off of your bone. It's sick. It eats the skin off your bone. If it, then it gives you cancer on top of that. But
well, apparently, if you go down there now into that area, New Orleans and around the the Gulf and stuff, you'll see this product because it ships in these big giant tanks.
Yeah.
And you'll see it stockpiled at different places, and you'll see it being loaded onto barges and things like that, even today. So you wouldn't you wouldn't be doing that if you weren't spraying the stuff.
And if you go down there with a camera, you will be locked up. They don't play down there. I mean I've heard that from many alternative media journalists and stuff. You see on where you can go to YouTube and just watch the videos where they are literally arresting people, confiscating the cameras. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Did you see that special that 2020 did last week on Fukushima? Where she went, one of the reporters actually went to the plant and, dressed up in the white suit and then went out with the oceanograph guys and took readings and stuff.
What was it?
Yeah, No, it was on Nightline. Nightline.
I don't watch the news, but what was the end game? What was the?
It's bad.
What was the outcome?
Godzilla. Godzilla.
That's as scientific as it gets, right there.
It's bad. No, it was. There was a guy, and I don't understand how these scientists can say this. They're talking. They asked about the West Coast, and the scientists got up there. So, there's not. You get more radiation from the sun, or natural radiation in the sand that's been built up in the sand over hundreds of thousands of years than you will from Fukushima. But you got two-headed whales washing up on the beaches. You got plankton that are dying. You got guys out. I mean, I've seen the videos. Guys with Geiger counters that are picking it up. I saw a guy the other day in St. Louis. Well, it wasn't about 3 weeks ago. Snow. He took his Geiger counters out in the snow, and was picking up radiation.
Well, the stuff I'm watching, as far as the information I'm getting is it's definitely in the atmosphere, which makes more sense. I would think that the ocean would dilute it quite a bit, but they say over on the West Coast if it's raining outside, stay inside. So I don't know. I mean, who do you believe? And that's the problem that we're running into here. So she went to the plant. Did they come up with any conclusions that this is? I mean, besides it's bad, or is it just?
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's.
I had heard that it was melting down into the.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it. TAPCO didn't talk about any of that, but your scientists, all of your guys, your scientists are saying. All of the scientists are saying that they're, I think, about 12 inches they got about 12 inches before they're actually, they have a China effect. Now, being over there, I don't know what we have to look, see what's on the other, the China. Remember that great movie, The China Syndrome? Remember that growing up watching that?
I'm thinking the best thing that could happen to this thing is for it to melt down into the ground. Now, I don't know what that means. Does it melt down through the earth?
Yeah.
It's not going to come out the other side, but
no, it'll hit the core. But the problem is when it hits the water table and stuff, it will super steam, and then it will not be good.
Yeah, I guess that probably makes sense.
It would not be good.
I was thinking that if it went down far enough and then the earth just covered it up, that would be better than it sitting in in a concrete box that's blown up.
Yeah. And that was actually the only core. There's 3 reactors, and the only reactor she went to was the least damaged. The other 2, they wouldn't let them anywhere near it.
Right.
But she's
bad.
I don't know. She's a knucklehead. Because I don't care. I mean, common sense would tell you, radiation's not good. We have soldiers. I mean, the USS Ronald Reagan was over there. We have soldiers. There's tape that you can go out there and see it. There's tape where they're scrubbing the flight line down because there was like a white. They thought it was snowing, and it was a white ash, and it was from the reactors. And now they have soldiers who have thyroid cancer who are already showing signs of cancer clusters. They're showing what they call clusters, and they're keeping that hush hush. But it's coming out because you got soldiers now suing.
Well, that's the problem is that the military's turned their backs on them, and they're making them sue TEPCO directly.
Yeah.
And I, of course, take issue with that. But, why would that be any different than, any of our other soldiers that are, trying to get help or seek benefits and things like that? So it's a...
Yeah. Well, I watched a show that was just sickening. It was on Independent. It was called Independence Lens, and it was they do different like news shows and alternative, and they had the thing about the issue with rape in the armed services, and they had a young lady there that was assaulted and raped, and then basically beaten. Her jaw was broken, and she's been waiting 2 years to get in to have surgery, and what happened is because they waited too long to reset her jaw, that now it's done permanent nerve damage. And of course the underlying was the rape in the military, but the part that was also disturbing is the fact that she's on the phone with these with the VA, and they're like, oh yeah, you're in committee, and it's going to take 120 more days, and we'll have a decision for you, and and in the meantime they're pumping her full of narcotics, and it's just sick. Well, that you've lived that firsthand, so it's
Absolutely.
just
I got my letter a couple weeks ago. It says we're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And now they're talking about cutting the VA. Did you hear about that? They're actually talking about cutting the VA and laying off people. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm telling you, man, what you need to do is you need to go get a really dark tan. You need to put a wig on, and you need to go to social services. And you hablo español, see? or some other foreign language. Don't speak English.
Well, here's what we need to do. Here's what we really, seriously, what we need to do is we need to stop repeating the madness, okay? And that is, the patriots that are listening to your show right now basically need to understand that, it is up to us to retake this country. And again, if you know who I am, I'm not talking about through arms and things like that. I'm talking about at the ballot box. I've seen a rash of people that have stood up and said, you know what, I'm going to run for office also, whether it be on a local level, state level, or even on a federal level. And I'd like to encourage, more folks to think about doing something like that, because, listen, guys, we can't, these issues that we're talking about are not going to fix themselves, and they're not going to be fixed by the folks that are currently running for office or are currently in office. If they were going to do it, Jeff, they would have already done it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, Hillary Clinton and Chris Christie and Ted Cruz and all these other airbags are going to tell you that they're going to fix them. They're going to tell you that they're going to do them, but ultimately they will not. I mean, everything that this guy that's in office right now said he was going to do, he's done the complete opposite. So, and he sold that to people twice.
Yeah.
And that's just how stupid the American citizens are, is that they bought it twice. And nothing's changed this second term either. So, listen, we can talk about, what's wrong, but, the way I see it is as far as the jobs and manufacturing in this country, I mean, we've got to remove the hurdles that are in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to man up. We've got to make some hard decisions. And, we're 12th in the world because we're gauged against the world. I'm saying we need to be number one in our own minds. We need to step away from the world economy right now, and we need to concentrate on the 313 million citizens of this sovereign nation and stop worrying about what's happening, in the rest of the world. And I don't mean, be an isolationist. I don't mean to be completely out of it in the sense that, we don't ever want to do anything. But remember what I keep saying. If the American citizen is not part of the equation as far as them benefiting, then it's not for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could just do what every other country's doing. Every other country is saying, look, if we have a job, I mean, I've traveled the world. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go to Ireland. I've had an opportunity to go to Australia. And basically they tell you flat out, if there is a person in this country that can do that job, you can't come here. Now you can come for a day or a week or whatever, but you're not working here. You're going back home. And that's the way it is. I mean, even, just last week, this super fighter that Boeing is, 4 times over budget with and, 10 years behind schedule and stuff. They finally said that they're going to allow China to make the magnets that are used in this, in this super secret aircraft. that because Boeing apparently can't buy the magnets here in the United States. Well, they're, no sooner they said that, there was like 5 magnet companies said, we'll make them for them. They never asked us. They never asked us for these magnets. So it's just.
Well, that's actually an interesting point that you just made, and let me try to pull that out of my memory banks. We were talking about that this weekend, which was, when I talk about pulling out of the world economy and things like that, I mean, as we begin this reinvestment into the American, I call it the American dream or the American, way of life, and that is, if we're going to do something in this country, like, our roads and our bridges and things like that, which is going to require a tremendous amount of steel, one of the mandates is that the steel has to be produced, mined, and everything, and American workers right here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, we're talking several trillions of dollars, worth of, materials and labor costs that's going to need to be invested over the next, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years. And that's what the experts are saying, that it's a 50-year project. So, but think about it. Once we start building steel here again, once we start building steel, once we start, producing, mining it here, then that steel can also be used for building, buildings and things like that, and anything that requires steel. Christ, man, we invented that process. We invented, steel manufacturing, and in 130 years, we've given it all away. We've given the technology away. We've given, we've given it to all the other countries, and now they're using it against us by, producing it and selling it back to us. I mean, it's a shame, and it's got to change. And so when I say there's hard decisions that have to be made, that's a scary proposition. I mean, we've worked ourselves into this world economy for the last 40, 50 years. I can't tell you what the future is going to look like when we pull out of it, but I got to tell you, it can't be any worse than what what we're experiencing right now. But as that process moves forward over the next few years, 10 years, however long it takes, I think we'll start to see a rebirth of the morale in this country, and some sense of national pride and this type of thing, which goes a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, when people are proud of their flag, then they protect their flag. When they're no longer proud of their flag, which right now what represents the United States flag is maybe our government, and I know I've heard a lot of people say that I love my country, but I'm ashamed of my government.
Yeah.
So, and if you read the news and if you believe the news, which I don't and which I've stopped doing, but anyway, the rest of the world is laughing at us.
Oh, it's a joke. I mean, I was actually watching C-SPAN last night, and they had Sharon's funeral, and once again, this administration, this government, they send Joe Biden. Say it ain't so, Joe. And literally, I'm telling you, I had to turn the channel. When he got up there and gave the speech, I sat and listened to all the speech. Tony Blair, I listened to his speech, even though I don't like that man either. I even listened to all the Hebrew speeches. But the minute Joe Biden got on there, I had to turn it because I'm sitting there going, you lying sack of, the first thing he leads off with is, there is no greater friend to Israel than the United States. And I'm like, okay. What about your secret deal with Iran? The same country that just said that they want to obliterate Israel.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically that's basically what's going to take place over the next 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah.
These politicians are going to tell the American people what they want to hear.
Yes.
When you talk to me, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what's on my mind and what I think is what needs to be done. And that's not very popular.
Yeah.
Tonight, for example, I went into, I've got group pages for each of the states. And I went into Maryland and Virginia, and I basically just said that, you guys are doing a very good job in electing, your liberal-minded, type politicians. And, and if you keep up that mentality, you'll probably end up electing a liberal president again. And they said, well, it's not our fault. It's like take Maryland. They've got 10 electoral college votes. And basically Montgomery, Baltimore, and Prince George's County, which is 3 congressional districts, are essentially choosing the liberal-minded, politicians for the rest of the states. And my answer to that is, you're going to tell me that 7 congressional districts can't come out in large enough numbers to offset the 3 that I just mentioned? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. But it takes everybody getting out of bed on Election Day, and I mean getting out of bed and going down to the library and voting.
Yeah.
Not getting out of bed and then going, well, my vote doesn't count, so I'm not going to bother. This next election is going to tell, and I'm not just talking about 2016, I'm talking about 14 as well, it's going to say a lot about, is there a patriot movement in this country or not?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And...
Well, my theories on that.
What's that?
I think there are people that, I'm serious, I think we're like a bunch, my dog. I love my dog to death, but he's got an attention span of about 3 seconds.
Right.
He can be whatever, and then I can show him a treat, and then he's all about the treat. He's just, he's a smart dog, but he's dumb. And that's how we are as Americans. I think that we are so controlled by mainstream media. Now, most of us are awake. There's no doubt about it. But I think the majority of the people, earlier on, I had a gentleman who called in and we were talking about this. I can go and speak to someone. I can wake them up. I can literally wake them up, and they go, oh, wow, show them the documents and everything. The next day I see them, they'll be like, did you see that? Did you see that pass at the football game? Or did you see who won American Idol? Or did you see? And it's like, are you kidding me? You got an attention span of a 3-year-old. And that's the problem. And the thing is that I believe, my theory is that the scientists, people a lot smarter than us and cahoots with our government, have figured out how to keep us numb, how to put us back to sleep. You could wake up, but like a 3-year-old or like my dog, 3 minutes later, you'll be thinking about, Kim Kardashian's butt or whatever, whatever the flair of the day.
Kim Kardashian does have a nice butt.
She does. I agree, but it's not. I don't obsess on it.
Well, let's talk about this for a second. Let's just say that we've got, between now and November, we've got 9 months. Okay, for the 2014. If we keep talking about this stuff like we're doing, I think that's really all we can do. We can just keep putting it out there, and what I call being a rock, being something that people can aspire to. My math. My math is basically 100 million people in this country have buried their heads in the sand, and that's where it's going to stay, and there's not a shit we can do about it. Okay. Yeah. So it's those other 115 million people that I'm really trying to, that I'm talking to. So I do believe in my heart, or I'm not going to say wasting my time or wasting my money or anything like that. I have got to believe that between now and at least for my election in 2016, that we can make this happen. Okay. If we don't make it happen, meaning, then there you have it. I mean, the American people have spoken. And what I'm saying, if you don't come out and vote, then you still have spoken. You understand what I'm saying?
No, you voted or didn't vote for the government that you got. Right. And that's, and that's the thing is I hear these people complain, and I love listening to these these people that are now getting sticker shock, getting $1,200-1,300 a month, insurance payments or after tax.
So at that point,
and they're going, I didn't vote for this. It's like, you sure did. You voted the guy in office twice. So
at that point, we basically have a marker, a basis for going forward. In other words, at what point do the 50, let's say it's 40 or 50 million people that we do wake up, and which is still not enough to beat Hillary Clinton, because she's going to get 70 or 80 million votes with amnesty and all that.
Well, and then Diebold is probably going to throw a couple million there.
40 or 50 million patriots.
Yeah.
We can do something with that.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't do it with 200,000 patriots. It's going to take, a sizable amount of people that chose to get out of bed and exercise their constitutional right to vote. Okay, and what people don't realize is that voter rolls and voter registrations are all public knowledge. I mean, they're public information. Okay, and one of the things that we're going to be doing on election day is we're going to have those voter registration rolls. And so we're going to know who's who. And, we'll be able to use that information to, for going forward.
Yeah.
And it's, it's a lot of extra work when it just would be so easy if Jeff Norton would just get out of bed
I know.
On November 8th, 2016, and go vote.
Stone, I'm going to try, but you know me, I got to watch my entertainment tonight. I got my late night TV. I got to watch it. And then I don't know what it is. And then the Today Show, and then I watch MSNBC in the morning.
Right. The worst thing that could happen is for me not to go out.
That's right. I'm doing absentee. I'm doing absentee in a couple states. What are you talking about? No,
that's my point. I just use you as an example, but I'm saying.
No, you're right.
On that particular day, and also I think it's November 6th this year, 2014, that you have to. I mean, it's just you've got to do it. There's just nothing more important that day than exercising your Constitution.
Well, actually, Stone, I'll probably be in jail the election day. Did you not hear what? Well, did you not hear? Well, of course, I know you've been busy with your campaign and stuff, but we are actually starting an initiative 4 days prior to the election. We are asking every American patriot, everybody we're putting this together. Everybody talks about the 1 Million Man March and the 4 million trucker march and blah, 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 whatever. Those are great and those are fine. The biker one was cool, and the march for the veterans was cool. That was outstanding. But, I actually came up with an idea. Why don't everybody 4 days before the election go to their banks and withdraw all their money out of the bank accounts? Just go to the bank and take all your money out. And just put it in your pocket, and then, you want to see this country get thrown into chaos? Have 3% of the American people.
Is chaos what we want? I don't think chaos is what we want.
Well, no, but you're going to see it's like a good, we're going to use football here because, I know a lot of people watch football. I know that the people that are numb watch a lot of football. You know how quarterbacks will kind of bluff to kind of see what the defense is doing? I'm a firm believer we need to start doing that. We need to start bluffing, and we need to start seeing what this government's going to do so that we can prepare for it. Because, they're going to do it. I know when you get into office, and I have faith in you, that, I believe in you. And I know your convictions. My concern is it's going to be so screwed up that even with you in office, with the best intentions, we're still going to have problems. And we're still going to have issues. So we need to start bluffing to kind of get an idea of what our government's going to do. And I think one of the things we need to do is like I said, is that we need to take our money out and to see what they're going to see, how quick they will clamp down on your financial. We're already seeing Chase Bank. Chase is already telling people. If you were 110 million people now on target with the credit card, Chase is now saying that they're going to limit even though you went and got a new credit card, new debit card from Chase is still saying they're going to limit your transactions. Why? You got a new card. And so, but they're still doing it. It's because they're using this as an excuse to keep you from withdrawing your money out of the banks. When the banking holiday comes, and I think it's going to come sooner than later. I think we're going to see it as you're running for office. We're going to see banking holidays. And for those that don't know, I mean, we've had banking holidays in this country before. And they are ways that the government shuts the banks down, and you had 10,000 or 20,000 in the bank account. And when it opens back up, you're going to have, 5,000 or you're going to have, a less amount. And of course, everything's going up in cost. England is just coming out and saying that they're actually going to get rid of currency altogether. They want to go strictly to a debit card. And we know how well those things work.
Yeah. Well, I obviously I don't support that, and I don't. Yeah. What I do support is putting the, basing our currency on something hard, whether it be gold, silver, or what have you. But, we discussed that last time. We're not sure where our gold is at.
Where is it? Yeah.
Right. So we have to, this is a lot of the answers that I'm finding that I'm having to give folks now is like, well, how are you going to do this? I'm going to say, well, I have no idea because I don't know all of the information. And if I don't know all the information, how is it possible that these others have the information? So what they're doing is they're giving you their best guess.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
Just look at 40 years of politicians here and them giving you their best guess. We're in this shithole because of the established political system in this country.
But to be honest with you, and that's what's refreshing about you, I think if you will come out and say we're in a shithole. These politicians, these paid politicians or professional politicians, they don't believe what they spiel. What it is they have handlers that say, well, this poll and this demographic says that you need to say this and that, and they craft the message. These guys don't come. You can't tell me that these guys. I mean, Obama. In all of his inefficient, in all of his I don't know, his shortcomings, you can't tell me that he doesn't sit up at night and say, I'm screwed.
Well, listen to this. About an hour before I came on the show, I typed a little silly message on Facebook. It basically said, I'm hungry for a bologna sandwich, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to have cheese, and I'm going to have mayonnaise and salt and pepper, blah, blah, blah. And then I went on to further say that, hey, when I am in office, look, I'm already saving us money because I don't need a staff of 38 to cook me dinner because I like bologna and I like peanut butter and I like steaks on the grill and this type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't need 38 people. Well, then here comes some guy who says, well, that just creates more layoffs. I'm like, dude, we didn't need 38 cooks in the fucking White House to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you do.
You understand what I'm saying? So I don't care if they're laid off or not.
Yeah, you do, because the in-laws need to eat like kings, too.
I understand. I understand all the rhetoric. But my point is,
you're right,
they should have never been working there to begin with.
No,
I mean, listen, if we have, the president of Russia comes to the United States, well, you know what? I can call up, Sandy's catering service and have her cater dinner, whatever, but I don't need 38 cooks.
Yeah.
It's a rhetorical statement, but at the same time, this is what this person's programmed to think that, oh my gosh, look, now you're going to put all those people out of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. They shouldn't have been hired to begin with. I agree with you.
They shouldn't have been hired to begin with. That's just like, you might as well be on welfare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree.
So they turned something cute, meaning like, hey, I'm going to have a bologna sandwich because I'm hungry for a bologna sandwich. And, and by the way, when I'm president, so then they turned it into a poll, basically.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do about jobs in manufacturing? Yeah. Once again, go read my issue paper. This wasn't designed to be a big, long debate, but, anyway. Yeah, we don't need 38 cooks. We certainly don't need 3 lines. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But and that's just at the White House. Imagine what they bring to Camp David or
Camp David, wherever they go. Wherever they, my thing is, I'm sorry, if a rock star can go to a restaurant and eat for free, the president should be able to, I'm a firm believer. I mean, think about it. This week, no, here you go. This week, sponsored by Denny's. Great American food at a great American price. Can you imagine? Oh, next week we got the Olive Garden. Olive Garden's going to be joining us,
I hear you.
Taco Bell.
People, actually, that's been discussed also because I like to ride, so I can see myself on many occasions jumping on my bike and buzzing down to Wendy's and having a burger and a Frosty. And that's going to happen. But
you can't. I can see Secret Service behind you.
Absolutely. Well, Secret Service are going to be We'll pick from the pool of Secret Service agents those that like to ride.
Yeah, that's right. That's just bad. I'll behave because I'm sitting there going, well, it will eliminate the strip club scandals, working with the bikers. Huh?
That's Wednesday. Night.
Exactly. There's no scandal. Stop.
Hey, if it ain't illegal, then what's wrong with it?
That's right. That's right. No, I agree.
Oh, it's immoral. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's
it's immoral?
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Last time I checked, we were adults. Leave your ID at the door. I know. I just, I'm one of these people, to each their own. Whatever you want to do, as long as you're not doing it in my house or my yard, I can really care less. And
have you seen this movie called End of Watch?
Yes.
It's about those two cops in L.A. that are okay.
Yep.
I watched that last night. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of scenes in there I wanted to talk to you about, which was when I guess the woman had called the police and they had the kids tied up in the closet. Remember that scene where they had the two little kids? A baby was duct taped to her car seat, and the other kid had his hands bound with duct tape. And
wait. No, I have not seen that movie. I was thinking I thought you were talking about Neighborhood Watch. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I've not seen End of Watch. I was thinking Neighborhood Watch, the one where the comedy with Ben Stiller and I'm sorry, and Vince Vaughn.
That was the aliens.
Yeah.
The aliens in the Costco. Yeah.
I was like, how are we gonna turn this conversation to a good conversation? Now, I've not seen End of Watch, so no spoiler alert. I do want to watch it.
Okay. You can watch it on iTunes or whatever. But anyway, the point I brought that up is that we're talking on the phone right now, and I was actually out driving today, and I got this thought stuck in my mind that there's some horrible crap going on in this country right now. Like the 3 women that were held captive for 10 years and that type of thing, and human trafficking and this type of thing. I mean, to ponder the idea that in America right now there is what we call human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is
sex trafficking.
Need to think about that. They need to think about that.
Yeah, sex trafficking. I mean, it's just, and I hate to say it, and I'm not, like I said, to each their own, but that's one of the reasons why there has been studies who have proven that that if you expose yourself to pornography over and over and over and over time, that there are certain individuals that are prone to take it to the next level. And that's why I'm to each their own. Grown adults, who am I to say what you can and can't do? But I am cautious of those types of behaviors because, I mean, it's sick. I saw Independent Lens, another show that I was watching, talking about sex trafficking of minors, and it's a huge issue in the United States, and it's more so in the Asian communities. There are men here that, I mean, literally, they buy plane tickets and they go as groups and they go over to the Philippines, and and it's just sick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to degrade your to take away, but you're right. I mean, there's some sick things that go on in this country. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we have become a society of deplority, and
well, where I was going with that was basically this stuff was taking place in just residential neighborhoods, okay, in a house, and I remember growing up as a kid. and thinking that, I knew all my neighbors, my parents knew all the neighbors. We kind of, it was a community type situation.
Gotcha.
And we don't have that anymore. And I think that's something that, go ahead, you have something to say?
No, I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. That, as we begin to rebuild this country, and I'm talking about not just, from a manufacturing job standpoint, but from a morale standpoint, I don't see a whole lot of, that's not something you can legislate. In other words, you can't legislate that you got to know your neighbor. But, I think that that's something important that, as time goes on, as we raise the awareness of our culture, where we came from, and this type of thing, because, and then of course that transcends down into the schools, and what are they teaching our kids, and and this type of thing.
Well, once again, I think a lot of that's by design. I mean, we've created an opposing values society. The reason why we don't associate with our neighbors is not because we are, by human nature, we are social creatures. I mean, look at Facebook. I mean, even that is a social platform, even though it's narcissistic in nature. But the reality of it, we are social creatures. The problem is that
let me interject something.
Sure.
What if instead of it was called social network, what if it was called asshole network? And meaning if it was called that from the beginning, would we all consider it asshole network? I think we would.
Yeah.
There's nothing social about Facebook. Let's get that clear right now. That is probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to the world, to America to begin with.
No.
Okay.
It just but it feeds into the narcissism,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, what my point was is that the government, through media and stuff, have created multiple value systems. If you think about when your parents grew up. Let's go back to the day, or even before then. Your community pretty much had value standards, and everybody lived within those values. Now you have competing values, and now when people, it's kind of like a tribal system. You have tribes within your own community, and unfortunately, your family could be your own tribe now, and it's no longer a group of you. And now, in order for you to feel part of a tribe, because that's basic human nature, is you want to belong to something. Where do most people go? They turn to Facebook or social media. And you're right, there's nothing social about it. But if you think about our movement, the Patriot movement. We all join together on Patriot FB or wherever we meet. But do we actually get together in the morning and have breakfast with each other? Do we actually go to no, we don't.
I do. I
know you do. I do too.
You do.
I do, because I got friends. I do have friends, but I have people that I associate with. And
stop right there for a second. But that's my point, and that's what I want the conversations to be about, which is, hey, these things exist, and let's call them a tool.
Yeah.
But your toolbox has many different tools.
Yeah.
And it's just awareness. People just need to know that, hey, maybe this thing has consumed a great more percentage, of my life than perhaps maybe it ought to. And, they have to make a conscious decision to get off of it. I know I have.
Yeah.
Because what's happening with me, and, whether it be my Patriot FB or my Facebook accounts, my different pages and stuff like that, is the wackadoos are starting to come out in greater numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the liberals and the conservatives, they've all pushed the buttons.
Yeah.
They've all began to campaign. Okay.
Yep.
And so the crazies are starting to come out, and sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish one from the other. I know you've had some issues with that on Patriot FB. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not censorship when you clearly identify somebody that's just, completely wrong.
Yeah.
To just delete them and ignore them,
Yeah.
And for me, I call it just putting them in a bucket and throwing them in the corner,
Yeah.
And for Stone Anthony, when you get in that bucket and you're in the corner, you no longer exist.
Yeah.
I'm okay with my math. My 50 million on the left, my 50 million on the right. It's a badge of honor. If that's where you want to be, then go for it.
Well, I mean,
I don't care if you're my brother.
Yeah.
If you're going in the corner.
You're gonna go to the corner. So, but I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, this is how I use, how I use Facebook, and now how I use Patriot Media or Patriot FB, is that out of the 2,000 or 3,000 friends I have in Facebook, I have 5 that I know I can call. I have their phone numbers. We share phone numbers. Same thing with Patriot FB. I kind of use that as a gauge. That's how I develop. I see people that have common interests, and not the ones that are just posting stuff up there, all the time. And so I find people that have common interests, and I reach out to them, and then we develop actually a friendship. I've got people on Patriot FB. I got people on Facebook. We all have each other's private cell phone numbers, and that. And out of the 1,000 or so out of Facebook, I have about 6, and out of Patriot FB, out of the 100 or so, I have about 4. And that we're friends, and I know they can crash at my place. I know I can crash at their place. I knew if I was in trouble, I could call them up. They would help me out. I mean, and that's how I use those media. And plus I use it for news. I mean, I will tell you, I get great news. So.
Well, today, a young lady, probably in her mid-70s, I won't say her name, but she's from, Indiana, saw my video, did a little research, started reading some of my stuff, and she said, okay, I'm going to sign this man's petition. So she goes to the website, and she starts filling it out, and she noticed my phone number there, and she says, I'm just going to give it a try.
Yeah.
And don't you know, I answered the phone.
Yeah.
And her and I spoke for probably a good 45 to 50 minutes, and I listened to her, and, it was almost as if I were on the other end of the phone, and the things that are important to me and the things that I see that are wrong, she was just one right after the other without missing a beat. And she's like, we've got to change the course of this nation right now, because where it's headed, trust me, my friend, those people that stay home on Election Day, they just do not fully appreciate what it's going to be like 5-10 years down the road. It is not going to be pleasant.
Yeah.
Jeff, it's not a country that I'm going to want to live in any longer. And I'm not sure that there's any, because they've all of the public lands, as far as you would think you could go up in the woods and find a little creek and just pitch a tent and nobody would bother you. Man, there's nowhere in this country that you can go without somebody bothering you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Well, I know.
I tore my ACL in Denver back in 2011, and I had to ride back to Virginia from Denver, and so I was hitting about 40 miles outside of St. Louis on the west side, and I thought to myself, let me stop and grab a 30-minute cat nap at the rest area. Okay. So I pulled my bike up, and I hobbled down to one of the benches, one of the picnic benches, and I laid on it, and I tried to go to sleep. Within like 10 minutes, I hear this, rapping on the thing. Hey, get up! You can't sleep here.
It's a rest area.
Well, of course, I went. Let's put it this way: I argued with this jackass for about a half an hour as a state trooper, and
Stone, were you wearing your colors?
He kept pointing to the sign that said "No camping." I said, "Well, I'm not really camping. I'm just whatever, dude." Yeah. I'm like, my knee was about the size of a basketball. I'm pointing at. Anyway, it just went back and forth, and at some point, you're just like, whatever, man, whatever. Of course, backup shows up, and it wasn't. I stopped calling him sir after a certain point in time, and had some other choice words for him. But I mean, it was just. Yeah. It's like, dude, it's 3:00 in the morning. I'm just catching a few minutes. Whatever, it didn't matter. But anyway, my point is that these people that are going to stay home on Election Day, and let's make no mistake about it, they're going to stay home. They're not going to appreciate their country in 5 or 10 years from now. I mean, people ask me all the time, Stone, are we going to survive? Is it going to, I'm like, well, the United States will still be here. I'm not sure that it'll be called the United States anymore. And I'm pretty sure we won't be pledging allegiance to a red, white, and blue flag, but it'll still be here. Okay. But, that thing called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and our laws that we have, the laws of the land, are going to be so prohibitive that, we're all going to be working for the state. We're all going to be, everything we do is going to be gauged.
We're all going to be wearing white leisure suits or what,
or something.
I agree with you. I think, it's, look, I'm not going to see it because I'm telling you, you don't get elected when they take the fight to the street. I'm the first one there.
Well, that kind of segues into the next thing, but I see more of that being talked about, maybe a year or so from now, because right now what we want people to focus on what is easy. And you know what the easiest thing to do is to get your ass out of bed on November 8th, 2016.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, yeah.
Take a shower, get in your vehicle or on your motorcycle and go to your polling place.
Go vote.
And go vote.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd like you to vote for me. But here's the thing. At midnight or whatever, whenever they call this election, if the numbers are right around 100 and 115 million total, we're going to have to come up with a number that basically says to all of the patriots, if this number is achieved or not achieved, then that's kind of the go word.
Yeah.
We'll develop that over time. I don't want to talk about it on the phone right now because I'm surprised they didn't just hang up our phone call.
Yeah, no. There's already, there's organizations out there that are already planning and putting, look, it's no mystery, and the government's gearing. There's no. I mean, we're talking. Today, part of the conversation with the American Spring that's going to happen this spring. There's already rumors in some of the subculture blogs and stuff where there's going to be armed militia. Ready to the minute the government steps out of line during the American Spring protests that are going to happen. There's going to be militia members in the crowds that are just going to,
You realize I don't support that, right?
I don't either. I think, if you're going, I am a person of battle, of honor when it comes to battle. I'm not into guerrilla warfare. I've never.
Let me talk for a second.
Go ahead.
For a second. And I'm gonna, and I know there's a lot of people listening to your radio show, at least 4, that are probably following that, that Operation Spring thing. And I think that people need to understand something. And these generals that are trying to organize this thing are used to giving orders to a well-regulated militia.
Yes.
Okay. A disciplined militia, soldiers, sailors, airmen.
Yes.
They don't quite get the idea that they're dealing with civilians. And even some of the veterans that are now civilians, oh man, it's 5 o'clock, I got to go pick up the kids. Oh, it's Saturday, I've got to take my kid to soccer. I mean, in other words, there's going to be 50,000 other reasons why people are not going to stay in D.C. So for them to say, come to D.C. and stay until it's all said and done, no. President Obama, whether you like it or not, is the President of the United States.
Yeah.
We elected him.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I mean you, me, and everybody else that voted or didn't vote. We elected the man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, we got the government we elected. You're absolutely correct.
We got the government we elected.
That's right.
So my simple message to everybody is you can go down there May 16th and you can stand around and go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to do anything.
He's not going to hear you because he's probably going to be in Hawaii or Camp David or, and that's why I'm proposing something that you can do locally versus something to go into DC. And that's why, I'm trying to think of creative things that we can do locally that tells the government that we don't appreciate it. And one of the things I came up with, like I said, is, this headshot move that, go to your bank and withdraw your money. It's your money.
Well, how about this? How about here's a better idea, and it's and along with your money thing, okay? Because those are easy things
Those
to
are
do.
easy. Anybody can do it. That's right.
Here's what you need to do. Get 10 or 15 of your buddies
Yeah.
and go down to your local congressman office or your local senator's office and talk to him.
And stand there.
And if he's
Exactly.
not, and stand there. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, people. President Obama is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, not till 2016 at the minimum.
Yeah.
Now, 2014, we're going to have congressmen and senators are up for re-election.
Yep.
And governors and state legislators and things like that.
Yeah.
Go down there and let them know. And you know, if we can't get 60 or 70 million people to do that between now and 2014 elections, dude, it's game over.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's what I'm all for, and I think we're on the same page. And my whole deal with the you know, we'll do a banking holiday for civilians is that we all have to do it at the same time, because that's going to put enough pressure on the banks and on the things, you know, that if you got 3% of the American people to go in and withdraw their money out of the bank accounts, and I'm not saying keep it out of the bank accounts, go buy whatever you want to buy and then put it back in like 10 days later, that would shut the banks down. That would literally shut them down.
Did you see the numbers that were leaked from A&E's website sales and Cracker Barrel sales during that Phil Robertson thing?
Oh.
They actually increased.
Yeah. 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 The American
all that
people,
talk about boycotting and, you know, not buying and all this other crap.
Yeah.
It actually helped them.
Well, it did, because, you know, people went and bought the stuff to get it off the shelves because they thought it was going to go away. Panic buying. But then of course Cracker Barrel did a great move when they came back and said, "Oh yeah, we're all in favor of you." They made a ton of money. My point is, and you're not saying it, but this is my point. That's exactly what they wanted to do. Well,
and it worked, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, that's media. Bad news. What is Don Henley's song? Bad news is good news. There's a country music song out there too, the same thing. You know, I'll go to rehab, but I'll sell 10 million records because I go. And you're absolutely. It's all. Look, I am a firm believer. There are people 1,000 times smarter than you and I, who they can tell you right down to the minute, to the second, to the color of, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to do this, and this is what will happen. I mean, I remember at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, when web pages first started out, there was a course, there was a professor, a very well-known psychiatrist, sociologist, psychiatrist, and he actually did a class on the colors of website and how to drive, how to influence moods. Like if you had a shopping site, you need to use these colors. If you had an information news site, you need to use these colors. And this is back almost 20 years ago.
All right,
they were perfecting this.
Yeah. Listen. Right. The point is that what we want people to, or we can keep talking about colors, or we can talk about the idea that American patriots need to stop being duped.
Yeah.
Okay. Just period. They need to stop allowing themselves to be controlled by these things that are so obvious to me and maybe obvious to you, and we need to just keep talking about them so that they, people get it into their brain.
Turn off the TV.
Listen,
read a book.
Listen. They're not. Well, Hillary Clinton is going to tell people what a scumbag I am. Yeah. Okay, and 50 million people are going to believe her.
Yeah.
They're going to believe that I have no plan, that my plan can't work, and that hers is superior. And Chris Christie, with all his fantasticness, is a better choice. If I get one more fundraising letter from Darrell Issa, I think I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are raising hundreds of millions of dollars already.
Yeah.
Tonight, I started fundraising. I got $20. So, where are the Patriots at? Do the Patriots support my idea, or don't they? Unfortunately, this thing is going to cost money. And I'm talking about winning this thing with $50 million as opposed to $2 billion. Okay? So, I think I just gave myself a fundraising plug there. But anyway.
That's all right.
The idea is simple. It is going to take some money. It's going to take some money to get things done. But You know, my idea is to bring myself to you, to the American Patriots, and talk to you and say, hey, we can do this thing, okay? But it is going to take a little bit of money.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree. And do you have your donation up on your site?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and from radio stations, we take a minimum of 100,000.
Is that okay? Thanks.
Yeah.
For the use of the likeness and I got you. And the endorsement of the radio station.
Well, here's my idea.
When I'm in North America, I listen to Patriot FM.
I'm going to get 115 million people that are going to support me. I know this is going to happen. And if everybody could just throw $1 or 50 cents, then we're gonna get the 50 million that we need. And I mean, 50 cents isn't a lot of money to ask for. When you know that Ted Cruz's birthday was like a couple days before Christmas or before New Year's this last year, and you know I got a personal email from his wonderful wife that said, "Hey everybody, how about everybody donate $1 for every year he's been alive? So he's turning 43. So if everybody could just donate $43." And I thought, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Hey,
a couple weeks. Working. A couple weeks prior to that, they've already said that it is now official that if you are a member of Congress, you are a millionaire. It's actually, I just assumed that was the case, but now apparently even the lowest guy, probably from Iowa, who represents maybe 20,000 people, he's now a millionaire. So they said every member of Congress now is in the millionaire club.
But and how do the American people, or the patriots, the true patriots, how do you feel about that, folks?
Well, yeah.
60 to 70% of your hard-earned labor, the dollars that you earn, no matter how much it is, whether it's $10 an hour or $50 an hour, 60 to 70% via income taxes or sales taxes or property tax, whatever it is being taken from you to make these guys millionaires and to continue to pay their salaries for the rest of their life.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They pay their full salary the rest of their life.
You want to talk to me about being pro-life or pro-choice? Is that truly, really the only issue that's important to you?
Yeah.
Come on, folks.
No. We talked about this. We talked about this the first show back. I was just, here I am trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to put one or two gifts or whatever, give my daughters a gift for Christmas or for the holidays and everything. And you got the president flying his family over and spending $17 million. And then on top of that, you've got the first lady staying back to do her 50th year birthday at a tune of $1.7 million to the taxpayers. I'm a firm believer, put her ass in a Cessna 182 and fly her back after her birthday party. If she wants to stay in Hawaii, she can either take a boat back or whatever. The American taxpayer plane is leaving at 5:30. I expect your butt to be on it at 5:29. Or
right. So what do we call that? Well,
it's hubris. It's that whole king. You are our subjects. I am your appointed one. You're anointed one, and we're king and queen of the United States. That's exactly what
the Constitution. Listen, the Constitution specifically prohibits titles being given to our elected officials.
I know, but that's how they're.
No. I know. Well, I guess the word I was looking for was prioritizing.
Well, yeah.
In other words, the American people have to understand that the trip to Africa last year cost something like $60 to $100 million. Yeah. The trip certainly after the fact for Mandela's thing must have cost at least that much.
Yeah.
These trips to it doesn't matter. We're talking probably $500 million have been spent on this man's travel.
Yeah.
What could we have done? Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm just saying. I agree. I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, it's like I get so frustrated with him. I mean, I understand the need for a vacation, but 8 or 9 a year for Christ's sakes. What are they doing making up a vacation? Stones, when's the last time you took a vacation? When's the last time you literally took a vacation where you were free and clear for a week? We'll just say a week. When's the last time?
about 3 years ago.
Okay. 15 years. Sandy and I, 15 years. We spent it at Topsail Island in right outside of Fort Lejeune. 15 years ago was the last time that I literally, for a week, where I actually didn't take calls, didn't work, didn't do nothing.
But that goes to speak, listen, Jeff, that goes to speak of the kind of person that I am and the kind of person that you are, in a sense of, we're not just sitting here bloviating about crap. We're kind of giving it to people from real world experience. And the idea there is nothing's going to change for me in a sense of, I don't plan on taking a vacation every month, even though, it's probably available to me and I can do whatever the hell I want. That's not what I want to do. Is I want to fix the American economy. I want to fix the American citizens' morale in this country.
Yeah, there's work to be done.
I want to do things that make this nation great, the nation that I fought for, and the nation that many of my fellow, veterans fought for. That's what I want.
No, there's work to be done. We got work to do.
We got work to do, not taking vacations. And, to me, a vacation is actually working, because I get a great deal of satisfaction when I have these phone calls with you, or if I'm standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and talking. I mean, to me, that's what makes me a whole person. That's what makes me tick. And I know we're going to win this thing November 8, 2016. So, I just know that there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done between now and then. And to summarize this last segment we were talking about, which is, folks, we need to prioritize. We need to decide what's important and what's not. And I think that people that have gotten to know me and have been, reading and watching and listening or whatever, my priorities are very much, focused on getting things, back on track. And with very little, almost non-existent distractions.
Yeah.
I'm asking, last year we were saying, hey, sign the petition. Doesn't mean I'm asking for your vote. I'm in full campaign mode now. I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking you to get behind me, make me a better candidate, support me, bring the ideas. If you see something you don't like, let's see if we can make it better. Because the idea here is we need to unify. We need to come together. Yeah. You're not always going to like my decisions. You're not always going to like what I have to say. But at the end of the day, my heart, my goal is to put you, the American citizens, in the equation. We're no longer in the equation, brother.
Oh, yeah, I know. The only time we're relevant is come election time. And then they basically, and then this kills me. Then they tell you you're a mushroom. They keep you in the dark and feed you, you know the definition of a mushroom. And that's exactly, and then, and then you got people that are like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And they're counting on that, Jeff.
Yeah, I know.
They're counting on the fact that, and listen to me, they're sitting up there high and mighty in their little palaces. They're looking down at their subjects and they're going, they're doing exactly what we want them to do.
Yeah, they're like
fighting amongst themselves. Exactly.
I know. These guys are idiots. This is. Yep. I mean, that's what a Harvard degree gets you. No, seriously. A lot of people go, well, Harvard degree. I had a really good friend who was a doctor. A mentor of mine, Dr. Oldham. And there was a time in my life where I was actually thinking about going into medicine, and I was contemplating it, and like, what university am I going to go to? Blah 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 blah. And he came back and he just flat out said, he goes, Jeff, what do you call a person that graduates from the worst medical college in the world at the bottom of their class? I'm like, what? He goes, you call him a doctor. And that's basically, it's what you do with your degree after the fact. But I've come to so it doesn't matter what college you go to. It's what you do with it after the fact that makes you who you are. But one of the things I have come to the conclusion, the Princetons, the Yales, the Harvard, they actually teach you how to be master manipulators. I think there's a class that you take when you go there, because if you look at all of the people in power in the United States, look at where they went to school. Look, everyone, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, mostly Yale, Harvard, and Princeton. Those are the top three. And I got to go in there and look at their core curriculum, because there's a class in there somewhere.
That's how you get into the good guys club. That's the only way you get into that club, and the club that elects you to to office. So that's not a secret.
Yeah.
just because people decide to bury their heads in the sand and not pay attention to it. But here's something else I want to address, and I want your input on it, and I want the patriots that are listening to understand where I'm coming from. If I hear one more time, Stone, you're just going to take votes away from the conservatives. Hey, listen, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's not my problem.
They need to get on board with us.
They need to get on board with us.
Yes.
Exactly.
I know. I hear you, brother.
I do not support Republicans. I do not support Democrats. I do not support libertarians. I do not support anybody except the American citizen.
That's right.
And if you have been eating or drinking from the Kool-Aid cup that the Democrats or the Republicans are the answer to your problems, then guess what? You are one of the 50 million.
Well,
and don't make me tell you that.
No,
because you're not going to like it.
I agree with you. I mean, look, I'll be the first one to tell you that we would be in the same situation that we're in right now if President Bush was in office. We're in this situation if it doesn't matter, conservative, Republican, it doesn't matter, Democrat, we would be in the same exact situation because, you know, and I tell people this all the time, you're either a slave to the corporation or you're a slave to the government, but you're still a slave. And we need people in there that are going to break that cycle of slavery. You know, we no longer need to be, our master no longer needs to be the corporations, and our masters no longer need to be the government.
So the comments are no longer relevant. People need to understand. They need to read my information and understand that I do not support the conservative side of things, and I do not support the liberal side of things.
With you.
It's all one thing. It's all one big giant mess. Folks, we are in this shithole because of the established politics.
Yeah.
So don't come at me with it. Here's another thing to understand.
Sure.
Jeff, you're making me have to...
Calm down.
I'm not able to fully articulate my comments because
I'm getting you fired up. It's about time, Stone.
Amnesty is coming, folks, and you need to get comfortable with that. You need to understand that that is going to happen in the next 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to happen. And here's what else is going to happen in November of 2014, because many of the patriots who say they're patriots are going to stay in bed that day, and they're not going to go vote. Watch what happens to this Republican-controlled Congress.
Yep.
It's going to become democratically controlled. He's going to have Congress, and he's going to have the Senate, and he's going to have himself, and amnesty is going to march right through there. So if you think that the conservative movement in this country, which, by the way, is all splintered up with this Tea Party bullshit, and if you think they can come together on one thing, you'd be wrong.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton is looking at a landslide win with 60 to 70 to 80 million votes. My friend, you couldn't get 60, 70, 80 million conservatives to do anything because they all have opinions, and you know what opinions are like.
Yep. No, we gotta get out of that cycle, and they're counting on it. That's part of their political process, or part of their political strategy, is the fact that they know that we're going to infight. Look, you know, the conservatives did it to them years ago, and now they're turning the tides. I remember listening to a conservative commentator talking about how the Democrats will never be a party of power because they're so disheveled and they need to organize. And hats off to Howard Dean. I'll be the first one to tell you, hats off to him, because he actually brought the Democratic Party and brought them together and with a mission. And now you got the Republican Party or the Conservative Party in chaos. And the reality of it is, I was listening to Senator Johnson, great state from the great state of Wisconsin. Did you know he's bringing a lawsuit against Obamacare right now?
Of course.
Well, the lawsuit is this: the fact that the President of the United States once again passed an edict saying that that Congress, you know, has to participate in Obamacare. However, the government's going to subsidize that, where you and we don't get subsidized. So Senator Johnson is actually from Wisconsin. He's actually bringing a lawsuit against the president, and he's going to fight it in court. And he has some pretty high-powered attorneys. The Republican Congress he's a senator. Republican Congress is now turned on Senator Johnson. Even Paul Ryan's turned on him and said, You can't do that. That's dangerous. You can't sue the President of the United States. And it's just, why not? You sue
And
anybody.
how many people out there beating the drums for Paul Ryan to be on the ticket?
Oh, yeah, he's a freaking... I once again, I had I was hoping, and he showed his true colors. I can care, I can care less about the man. Yeah, I mean,
my colors are my colors. I mean, you can't, there's really no ambiguity there. I mean,
I know. I know.
I'm pretty much the way that it is. But one thing I wanted to add to that whole Republican, situation is, and you mentioned Howard Dean, what the Democratic Party has done over the last 15 years, and even while Bush was, President of the United States, and keep in mind, I was no fan of Bush either, they bought their way. The government has purchased their power from the American people by giving the minority, voice everything, which allowed them to grow into a majority of the people that actually come out and participate in politics.
Yeah.
And, this America organizing thing that, that Obama has set up, that's his next gig. That's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be organizing Americans.
Yeah.
And these new Americans from Mexico and from everywhere else that they're going to give amnesty to, they're going to put in place a machine, my friend, that is going to be so powerful that whatever they want, whenever they want, they'll be able to achieve it.
Well, and the thing, look, let me because I live it, being so, and seeing, Chicago politics. The thing about that the American people don't see, and well, they do see, but they don't see it. They don't see it like we see it here in Chicago. Not only is he doing the organization, but he has the brute force of the unions, and he has the brute force. I mean, I will tell you, you go into Chicago and you say something detrimental to the President of the United States, and as an individual it's one thing, but as a figure, I want to say like a political figure, someone of stature within the community, they will crush you. The media will turn on you. They will literally crush you, and that's the scary part, because that's Chicago politics 101. They will destroy you in the Chicago, and it's only and that's you don't see that as much on the national stage because it's kind of an undertow, but you see it all the time in Chicago. You don't dare. I would not be able to do this show in Chicago. I could tell you, if I did this show in Chicago, my internet connections would be cut. In the building that I was at, it would take weeks before some union telecom guy.
Same thing over and over again. Can I jump in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When I come to Chicago,
I
will be calling these guys out, okay? Because my constituents, the people that I consider to be patriots, need to hear from me, and they need to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been paying attention the last few months, the folks in Chicago, and I'm talking about maybe previous Obama supporters and the old liberal entitlement thing, those people aren't getting what they were promised. So guess what they are? They're pissed off.
Okay.
What?
No, I'm just saying though. The thing is that if you're not part of the machine, you're going to get run over by it.
Well, I understand it. But you've talked to me. You've seen me. You see what I'm doing. You see the kind of people that I'm going to have surrounding me.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not going to be free for them. You understand what I'm saying to you, Jeff?
Well,
I'm not Paul Ryan. Listen, I'm not Paul Ryan. I'm not. Who's the other guy? Mike Lee. I'm not. I'm not a Harvard-educated guy.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the advantages that you have, though, is that the blue-collar, the steelworkers, and those guys can relate to you more so than they can to some suit. And I think you definitely have an advantage there. I mean, I got construction buddies who, and believe it or not, a lot of the construction union guys, the trades guys, they don't like this. You're right there. You're right there. But when I'm talking about the machine, I'm not talking about the Hoffas or anything like that. I'm talking about the media and And
Oh, dude, they are going to beat the living crap out of me. No, I'm not going into this with my eyes closed. No. Don't get me wrong. They are going to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
But I think that of everybody that I know and anybody that's in the field right now, I think I can take it.
Yeah. No, you got to be
I've seen far worse than anything these guys can throw at me. But the bottom line is they're going to make up shit. They're going to, they're going to talk to every ex-girlfriend that I ever screwed over. They're going to, it's going to be, it's going to be a bloodbath. But you know what? Go ahead.
Well, no, what do you say? You said go ahead. Did someone complain, Stone? Did someone tell you something that I don't know about? I noticed you've been doing that a lot lately. You've been you go ahead.
Oh, well, no. What they complain about is you. They want to hear me talk, not you.
Oh, hey, go ahead. It's all you.
Well, I don't want to talk now.
Oh, okay. You're listening to Stone Anthony, the Stone Anthony Show here at the Midnight Patriot Radio Show with your host, Stone Anthony. Stone, in the studio, we have Jeff Norton joining us.
Maybe we should start it off that way.
Maybe we should.
My guest tonight is Jeff Norton.
Hey, look, I told you could have your own show. We would, if you want to do it an hour a day, we would broadcast you 128K live every day.
I'm getting more and more, people saying, "Hey, would you do our show? Would you do our show? Would you do our show?"
Yeah.
I'm enjoying my show with you because I like the way that we converse.
Yeah, it's all about
I like the way I converse with Tim on Friday morning.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't need to be on 700 shows.
Yeah.
Okay? If people want to know what I have to say, then they can just click on the link on my website and listen to me at 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Spreaker on the Patriot FB radio show.
They can call you.
Or they can call me, and they do call me. So, I don't need. I don't need.
Yeah, I gotta step in here. And seriously, people, I for all you guys that are listening, go out to StoneAnthony2016.com. There's a phone number there. Now when Stone's gonna be like, "Thanks, Joe." There's a number there. When you call that, Stone, you gotta get like an Indian voice or something, because I remember Joe Sullivan. He's actually out of the Patriot FB. We joke about it. He called you last week, and it was like a kid on Christmas. He posted everywhere. Oh my gosh, I called this number. I thought I was gonna get tech support. Some Indian foreign dude, and I was talking to this guy, and then I recognized his voice, and then I realized I was talking to Stone, the guy that's on the Midnight Patriot, and I was laughing so hard when I saw that, because he posted it like Christmas, like, oh my God, I got you're a rock star, man. You got to send him.
Well, that makes me proud. I mean, and it's a humbling to hear that. It's very humbling, and I got to be honest with you, it gives me gasoline.
Yeah.
Okay, I burn fossil fuels in my body, and when people are excited, I'm excited.
Yeah.
When people aren't excited, I still have to be excited.
Yeah.
But so I enjoy that. I'll tell you, like Saturday, we had folks there from Iowa, as far away as Iowa, came to D.C. to hear me speak, and I remember afterwards and standing there with everybody and just saying, guys, I'm at a loss for words, and I'm not usually at a loss for words, but it was such a humbling experience, and this is to the folks in Maryland, hey, Maryland, you're right there, and not a soul showed up from Maryland, so and that's my home state, that's where I was born and everything, so that I would have liked to have had it, but we had Ohio, Iowa, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and DC, but nobody from Maryland. But that's that's okay. They're all busy. They're all busy donating to different causes and stuff over there to get people's bikes fixed.
I got to ask you. I got to watch the video because I did not see it. I'll be honest with you. I did not see it, but I will watch it tonight. You didn't have any problem with the Capitol Police?
As a matter of fact, I did, but it was a very pleasant experience. And let me describe it for you. Have you ever been to the Lincoln Memorial?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, once you get to the very top of the steps, then you're at the very top where you can, walk up and see the see the statue of him sitting down. Okay. Yep. Originally, that's where I was standing, was at the highest platform. Well, I got through my announcement speech, okay, and I saw them off in the distance, and they waited for me to finish, actually. And when I was done with that, getting ready to do the Declaration of Independence, they came over and they said, you can't. Well, first of all, they said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, this is what I'm doing. And they said, okay, you'll have to go down to the next landing and do it. You can't do it up here.
Yeah, no political speech.
I shook his hand and I said, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all. And, of course, people that were there were handing out, brochures and things, and they gave, the cops them. And they seemed like they were interested in what I was doing, and they walked away and they went over and did their thing. But, I'm not all about saying, hey, screw you, I'm not going to move, and I'm not going to, I was there for a particular purpose, and I wanted to achieve that purpose.
Yeah.
Could I have said to them, hey, this is a public space, I'm reading the frickin' Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, if I can't do it here, where can I do it? You know what I mean? And I'm sure I probably would have been fine, but, we as individuals have responsibility too, and everything doesn't always have to be skull cracking. You know what I'm saying? And so they were decent to me, so I was decent to them. You know, and that's
a lot of people don't know this, but you cannot do political speech or what they deem political speech on any state or any federal property. You can't go to any federal property.
Yeah, but reading the Declaration of Independence, I would think, and the Constitution would be two things that you could,
I guess they deem it political. I mean, it's just crazy how that law is. You can't do political speech there. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it all worked out, and they were cool, and I was cool, and everything. Everybody got along, and there were lots of people standing around that had no idea what we were doing, and I had folks there that were explaining to people what we were doing, and people were asking for extra cards and brochures. Sure. Were genuinely interested in what I was doing. So, what we'll probably end up doing is going back and doing it again in the summertime. And it was for all intents and purposes the most miserable day of the year. I mean, it was just pouring down raining. It wasn't like super cold, but it wasn't it wasn't super warm either.
Yeah, we got hit with that ice storm here, so I can only imagine when it was there.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. But one more thought before we go.
Yeah.
Probably get off here pretty soon, which was about the Republicans and the Democrats. And it's important for people to understand. Stone Anthony does not support the established political system in this country. Mm-hmm. The established political system in this country is what got us where we are today. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story. It's not your fault, Jeff. It's not my fault in a sense of, yes, we elected these airbags and we did this kind of stuff, but I'm saying the continuation of our freedoms and liberties being chipped away at on a minutely basis is not, I repeat, the fault of the American citizens at this stage of the game. It is the political machine.
Yes.
It's the established politicians. And like you said, they've all become millionaires. They are so detached from the everyday person that they couldn't possibly govern us.
Yeah. Oh, I know. So, they're ruling from a high. So
we need statesmen in there. We need folks like me, like you, like Mary and Bob and Joe and everybody else. Washington is not something you read a book and you have all of the answers. Okay, you go there as a citizen to do the people's work, and we don't know what the people's work is yet until you get there and what issues come up. Okay.
Yeah.
But it seems here lately that the work that they're doing is to promote Saudi Arabia or Iran or Mexico or China.
We talk about on the show on Thursday. Prepper Recon's on the show. We talk about bug out places. I'm a firm believer that these politicians are gonna when it hits the fan, they're going to be bugging out to these foreign countries. And that's why I'm serious. I think that's why they're kowtowing to these people, because they look when this. Well, I'll stop. I'll just stop right there. But I'm just saying that these guys are not idiots. And
well, I want to know what these tunnels. Maybe we could talk about that next week. I'd like to do some serious research. Now, here's something else you need to know, that me and my local support group, if you will, we've identified a quote-unquote FEMA camp.
Oh.
And we are going to go there, and we're going to break in. We're gonna climb the fence. We're gonna do everything we possibly can to find out the truth. Because at this point, all I know is what I've seen on videos and what I hear people talking about. I've got to go see it for myself.
Yeah.
And so
They're
that
there.
won't happen between. It won't happen between now and next week, but it's going to happen in the next few weeks, and I will have a definite report on that. I may even do it from the police, cell.
Well, they're
going to
take
phone call.
Yeah, you get one phone. Call me. Are you going to be in the neighborhood? Are you going to be in this area, or where are you going to? Well, no, don't tell me. Don't.
It's going to be in Region 3.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk. And so no, I've seen them. I've actually seen. Well, let me back up. I've actually seen them take the Chicago Motor Speedway and turn it into a instant processing center. I've seen it firsthand. The 5th CST, go look them up, go Google them. I saw it. I witnessed it. I saw it firsthand. I saw the structures go up. I saw the decontamination centers go up. I saw all the equipment go in. Actually, it was funny. I have a peat coat, what they call a peat coat. I obviously worked in Chicago. I had a peat coat, a black, long peat coat. I walked into one of the rooms, the decontamination room, and my coat set off the sensor on one of their air sensors. They have these sensors that blow across, and then they have collection units that sit on the other end, and it picked it up for crystal meth. My coat had crystal meth in it, and I ride the subway and stuff. I'm not a crackhead.
Do you want to? We can get you into a program.
Give me a help. Yeah. Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm 12-stepper. I'm gonna be a 12-stepper. No, but I can tell you in the day when I was doing work with the 5th CST, I saw it. I saw it, and it was the most when I first witnessed it and saw the mobilization. It was impressive as heck. It really was. It was really neat to watch our military. And I will tell you this: the guys that were running the show, there was FBI there, there was Homeland Security there was all sorts of different agencies that were there. The guys that were running the show, though, were all military. The military had complete control of the whole project. And they literally took the Chicago Motor Speedway, and you can Google, and there's pictures out there. Look up 5th CST, Barton, Illinois, and they literally turned the Motor Speedway literally within 3 hours into an intake center with full decon, full everything.
Intake for what?
Well, they were doing a simulation if there was a nuclear or some kind of biological attack in Chicago.
Right. Well, I've been involved in many mass casualty exercises, and
No, this wasn't. This was containment. This was containment. This was processing.